Chapter 3656. In order to have a good future with Jian Luo, Jiang Yingyao endured his disgust and dealt with all kinds of people who were blinded by their own interests. He was not free at all and was not as happy as when he was a police officer. In the eyes of others, inheriting the Jiang family was a very glorious thing, but Jiang Yingyao had no sense of honor at all. He still liked being a police officer, sitting in a clean office every day with endless information and documents. There was also a group of bastards who were eyeing him covetously and wanted to take money from his pocket. In order to deal with these people, Jiang Yingyao was already exhausted. But these people were not criminals and could be treated in a simple and violent way. When dealing with criminals, once they were caught and had evidence, they could be sent directly to the court and then be punished according to the law. But dealing with these people, Jiang Yingyao felt aggrieved and helpless. It was very suffocating. But these suffocations were all because of Jian Luo. Jian Luo had suffered so much because of him before, no matter what he did. But when he was suffering in the Jiang family, Jian Luo actually committed suicide, hurting her own body to commit suicide. Jiang Yingyao could not figure it out and was very angry. Why didn't Jian Luo understand? Jian Luo did not want to understand and was too lazy to understand. She just looked at Jiang Yingyao indifferently, causing Jiang Yingyao to deflate like a balloon that had been pierced by a needle. "What do you want?" Jiang Yingyao said helplessly. "What I said is true. When I'm discharged, find a job. I'm back in the Jiang family now, and the previous situation won't happen again," Jiang Yingyao said carefully. He was afraid that his words would stimulate Jian Luo's fragile heart. Jian Luo said, "I know. Don't worry, I won't do anything impulsive again." She looked at Jiang Yingyao steadily. "Is what you said true? Should I believe you?" "Believe me, I won't let you down." Jiang Yingyao held her hand tightly. Jian Luo was not as optimistic as Jiang Yingyao. "I'm afraid it's not up to you when the time comes." Jiang Yingyao also knew that he was in a difficult situation, but he had an agreement with old Madame Jiang. Old Madame Jiang was interfering in his life. Jiang Yingyao went to the hospital every day, but when it was time to get off work, old Madame Jiang was very dissatisfied. "You just took office and you left so early. What would the people in the company think?" She told Jiang Yingyao not to get off work so early and to stay in the company for a while. Jiang Yingyao could only stay in the company. He had nothing to do, so he just sat there. It was so painful. Jian Luo was alone in the hospital. She was lonely and had no family members around her. Some things were not very convenient. After all, one of her hands was injured. If Jian Luo had used a little more strength, her tendons would have been severed. When the doctor said that she could leave the hospital, Jian Luo packed up her things and left the hospital, returning to her apartment. Jian Luo also felt that she should go to work. She couldn't be so idle. When people were idle, it was easy for their thoughts to wander. Jian Luo was worried that she would do something rash again. As for Jiang Yingyao, since things had already turned out this way, what else could he do other than believe? Jian Luo drew some design drafts. When she went to a company for an interview, she passed the interview directly. She was very straightforward, completely different from the previous situation where she refused to accept. This was also good. Both of them were working hard for the future. Ning Shu didn't pay much attention to the two of them. He planned to go abroad to sort out his overseas assets. The client's connections were all overseas. It was better to do business overseas. However, she received an invitation to attend the engagement ceremony of Jiang Yingyao and the daughter of a tycoon. Moreover, the invitation specifically stated that she had to bring Jian Luo with her. Bring Jian Luo? What was wrong with her? Was she doing it on purpose? Jiang Yingyao was going to get engaged, and she brought Jian Luo to the engagement ceremony. Would these two misunderstand? From then on, they would go their separate ways. The Jiang family probably didn't want her to attend, but they asked her to bring Jian Luo. Ning Shu curled her lips and threw the invitation aside. She wouldn't get involved if she wanted to. She wasn't willing to use her to create a misunderstanding between Jian Luo and Jiang Yingyao. She only liked to watch the show. She didn't like to be watched by others. Even if she wanted to attend, she would attend alone and not bring Jian Luo. She didn't want to be involved with Jian Luo. Ning Shu thought about it and called Jian Luo. He told her that Jiang Yingyao was going to get engaged to the daughter of a tycoon. There was an invitation. Jian Luo obviously didn't know. She didn't receive an invitation and didn't get any news. After hearing Ning Shu's words, he was blown out of his mind. Jian Luo didn't have an invitation. She begged Ning Shu, "Can you bring me along?" Ning Shu asked, "Even if you attend, what can you change? What you should do now is to ask Jiang Yingyao. She should ask before the engagement ceremony." Did she have to ask at the engagement ceremony? What kind of brain was this? Jian Luo hung up the phone and called Jiang Yingyao, but no one answered. Again and again, Jiang Yingyao's credibility in Jian Luo's heart kept decreasing. In the face of this situation, Jian Luo didn't cry. She was very calm, so calm that it was a little abnormal. She didn't know that the Jiang family was about to be turned upside down. Jiang Yingyao almost shouted himself hoarse and asked old Madame Jiang why she made the decision without informing him. When did he get engaged to the daughter of a tycoon? It was completely old Madame Jiang who made the decision. "You violated the agreement between us. I won't care about the Jiang family anymore," Jiang Yingyao said bitterly. Old Madame Jiang said calmly, "If you get engaged with her, it will give you more power to control the Jiang family." Jiang Yingyao said painfully, "The reason why I want to control the Jiang family is to be with Jian Luo. I put the cart before the horse." But now, in order to control the Jiang family, he got engaged to another woman. What was this? It went against his original intention. Old Madame Jiang said indifferently, "Now is a difficult time for you. After this period of time, you can find a suitable reason to break off the engagement. It's just borrowing power." Jiang Yingyao didn't want to speak anymore. He didn't believe a word. Old Madame Jiang was stepping on his bottom line step by step. Before, she said that she only wanted to control the Jiang family and not interfere with his marriage. Now, she said that the engagement was just an act. He was really stupid to believe her. He should have insisted on not returning to the Jiang family and just left with Jian Luo. Why would he care about the Jiang family? Or he was too greedy. He wanted Jian Luo to be with him openly and accept other people's blessings. No matter how unbearable the Jiang family was, no matter how unwilling they were, as a member of the Jiang family, he couldn't just watch the Jiang family be taken over by others. Indeed, greed didn't have a good ending. Old Madame Jiang said, "Now that the invitations have been sent out, if you are not willing, you will offend the girl." Chapter 3657. You haven't completely controlled the Jiang family yet. If you don't get engaged, you'll lose the chance to control the Jiang family. When you control the Jiang family, everything will be settled. Madame Jiang comforted Jiang Yingyao. Jiang Yingyao had no way to deal with the situation now. He didn't know what Jian Luo would do if she knew. She committed suicide when she went back to the Jiang family. Now she knew that he was going to get engaged. Jian Luo was sensitive. If she knew about this, Jiang Yingyao was terrified because he felt that he was getting closer and closer to Jian Luo. Jiang Yingyao ignored Madame Jiang and rushed out of the Jiang family to find Jian Luo. Madame Jiang curled her lips and looked at Jiang Yingyao's back. It wasn't easy to get off a pirate ship. No matter what, everything was going according to her plan. The two young people could still escape from her. She didn't like Jian Luo, but she would never let Jian Luo marry into the Jiang family. She had to take advantage of the fact that she was alive to make these two completely hopeless. It didn't matter whether Jiang Yingyao understood or not. She didn't care what Jiang Yingyao thought when she was alive, let alone after she died. She couldn't feel his hatred for her. Jiang Yingyao came to the apartment and found that it was empty. Jian Luo had moved away. He couldn't find her anywhere. Jiang Yingyao squatted by the roadside and covered his head in confusion. He didn't want to cry. He had lost the most important person in his life. Jian Luo, who Jiang Yingyao couldn't find, carried her suitcase and came to find Ning Shu. She found the villa directly and stood in front of Ning Shu. She said to Ning Shu in an extremely calm tone, "Feiwen, take me away please." Ning Shu moved his lips and spat out a word, "Get lost." "Take you away, get hurt, and then let me take you away to escape." Jian Luo took a deep breath and her face trembled. She said tiredly, Are you still angry? I'm sorry, it's my fault. I shouldn't have disobeyed you. Now I'm making 3 people suffer. Jian Luo now found that the Jiang family's prejudice against her was deeply rooted and couldn't be changed. The reason why she was in so much pain was because she forced it. Now she was really tired, very tired. She had no energy to tangle with Jiang Yingyao anymore. She just wanted to leave this country and never come back. Ning Shu's heart was slightly moved. His heart was beating a little faster. He couldn't help but stroke his chest. This body was too disappointing. It was moved by such a sentence. Suppressing the throbbing of his heart, Ning Shu calmly shook his head. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Don't make me take you away. Fuck off, how shameless are you? You come back and I'll take it. Jian Luo covered her face and cried, I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. I won't ask you to forgive me. Please take me away. This is the last time I'm begging you. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, are you threatening me? Beg me for the last time. Do I not want your charity? Ning Shu waved his fingers. I don't love you now, and I don't want to have anything to do with you. By the way, I paid for your emergency treatment at the hospital this time. Remember to give me the money. Now Jian Luo was in so much pain that she wanted to die. Being mocked by Ning Shu like this, her heart hurt. I'm already in so much pain. Please don't mock me anymore. I'll give you the money. Can you give me a place to stay? It felt like there was no place for her in the world. I promise to marry you, and I won't go back to China. Jian Luo promised Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. Are you pregnant? She was in such a hurry to find someone to take care of her child. In the future, the father and son would be reunited and the family of 3 would be happy together. He was going to be abandoned again. This was too pitiful. Taking care of someone else's wife and child, he received 3 good person cards. Female lead, you are a good person. Male lead, you are a good person. Child, you are a good person. God, it was a tragedy in the world. Men were silent when they heard it, and daughters cried when they heard it. Their value was squeezed dry. Ning Shu couldn't help but be immersed in his imagination. He stared at Jian Luo's stomach with a strange expression. Oh, you guys killed someone, and now you want someone else to take the blame. That's immoral and unkind. As a human, please be kind. Jian Luo quickly denied. No, I'm not pregnant. Her face was a little red. Jiang Yingyao and I haven't reached that step. At most, they would kiss, hug, and raise each other up high. They hadn't reached the final step. Ning Shu nodded. That was because Jian Luo was angry with Jiang Yingyao. In a fit of anger, she agreed to marry him. You want to marry me, but I don't want to. Ning Shu refused directly. You're not a candidate for my wife, so I won't marry you. You can find whoever you want. You were about to get married before, but you ran away with someone else. Now you're angry and want to marry him again. Then you guys got lovey-dovey and ran away again. There should be a limit to how much you want to play with people. Where did Jian Luo get the confidence to think that she could do whatever she wanted in front of Fei Wen? She thought that Fei Wen liked her, loved her, and tolerated her, so she looked down on Fei Wen and thought that Fei Wen came back like a pug. What a waste. Jian Luo said, I'm serious, Fei Wen, I'm sorry. Ning Shu shook his head. Stop it. When you run away again, do you dare say that you've let go of Jiang Yingyao now and not find someone to marry despite Jiang Yingyao? Jian Luo said, I've thought about it clearly. I've never thought about it so clearly. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. What does it have to do with me? You want to eat the grass that turns back, but I don't want to eat the grass that turns back. Get out. Don't come to me in the future. You can marry whoever you want, but don't come to me. I'm really scared of you. You've sucked my blood for more than 10 years. I can't take it anymore. Ning Shu waved his hand. Jian Luo felt wronged. She hated herself for not being firm enough and hurting Fei Wen. She liked Jiang Yingyao, but Fei Wen was the warmest light in her life. She was also the one that she couldn't let go of. She trusted and relied on. Jian Luo didn't blame Ning Shu for being angry. She bit her lips and said, no matter what, you're the most important person in my life. I'll make it up to you. Ning Shu was speechless. How did she become the warmest and brightest color again? Wasn't this light Jiang Yingyao just now? This light can change back and forth. Make it up? Please get the hell out of here. Where did this confidence come from? Ning Shu was a little confused. What did Jian Luo mean? Did she really want to go back to him? Ning Shu took out his phone and called Jiang Yingyao. Your girlfriend is with me. Hurry up and take her away. She wants to blackmail me and wants to marry me. Jian Luo was speechless. She wasn't blackmailing him. She was serious, but Fei Wen didn't seem to believe her. /BK. Chapter 3658. Ning Shu hung up the phone and said to Jian Luo, hurry up and leave. I'm afraid you'll fight in my house. Pulling and pulling would break her things in her house. She would be heartbroken. If she wanted to fight or smash things, she would go back to her house. Jian Luo sighed. It was her obsession that caused the three of them to suffer. After experiencing some things, she realized that some things were really not important. So what if she loved Jiang Yingyao? Jiang Yingyao's family did not accept her. Now, Jiang Yingyao found a rich man's daughter to be his fiancée. She was not a rich man's daughter, and her father was a murderer who was hurt by criminals. All kinds of obstacles prevented her from being with Jiang Yingyao. So what if she loved him? These obstacles were really too big. Fei Wen had said these words to her before, but she was blinded at that time. She wanted to be with Jiang Yingyao, but reality slapped him hard in the face. She believed that she would be able to forget Jiang Yingyao. She and Jiang Yingyao were not from the same world. It was too tiring. If he wanted to please the Jiang family, he would have to suffer all the time. He might as well forget about them and let them go when they had the best memories. It would be better for him to let them go when he hated them to the core. After being with Jiang Yingyao, Jian Luo's heart was uneasy and unconfident. She did not believe that they could really be together, but she always had a fluke mentality. But the more worried she was, the more worried she was. Being with Jiang Yingyao, it was as if the sweetness only lasted for a moment, but it was bitter for many years. Jian Luo's tears fell. She let go of the box in her hand and rushed into Ning Shu's arms. Even if Fei Wen was always saying mean and heart-wrenching things to her, she just wanted to hold him now. There had never been a moment when she was full of heartache for this man. Heartache for him. Ning Shu raised his hands and pushed Jian Luo with disgust. Let go. Jian Luo hugged Ning Shu tightly. Smelling the man's scent, her heart was at ease. Ning Shu used her strength to push Jian Luo away from her body. After seeking excitement, he needed to be at ease. Now that he was at ease, he felt that such days were so boring. Ning Shu did not doubt Jian Luo's sincerity. She truly wanted to return to Fei Wen's embrace because Fei Wen had given her too many things. The two of them had relied on each other for more than 10 years. Fei Wen had never hurt them as much as Jiang Yingyao had. After the ups and downs and the psychological trauma, one would need to heal. At this time, hospitals were a necessity. Why would she go to the hospital for no reason? Jiang Yingyao stood at the door and looked at the two people hugging. He was silent and just stared blankly. When Ning Shu saw this scene, he knew that a misunderstanding was about to erupt. Jian Luo followed Ning Shu's gaze and saw Jiang Yingyao at the door. Guilt flashed across her face, but she thought of something and became confident again. Jiang Yingyao did not fly into a rage. It was hard to tell whether he was angry or not. He walked over and held Jian Luo's hand. Let's go home. Even if he wanted to deal with things, he would not do it in front of outsiders. Jiang Yingyao was a mature man. He would not fly into a rage and force Jian Luo. After all, Jiang Yingyao used to be a police officer. However, Jian Luo had already decided to give up on Jiang Yingyao. She shook off his hand and said, let's break up. You are going to be engaged to someone else. Jiang Yingyao frowned and glanced at Ning Shu. Let's go back and talk. I will explain it to you clearly. Jian Luo shook her head. I don't want to listen to your explanation. I don't want to be with you. Your family will not accept me. I don't have to marry you. Jiang Yingyao explained, whether you believe it or not, I didn't know about the engagement beforehand. Grandma did it behind my back. What was done could not be undone. She would tell him later. Jiang Yingyao hoped that Jian Luo could believe him and get through it together. At most, he would just leave. How about I leave the Jiang family? I will go with you. You should believe me now. Go with me. You can let go of the Jiang family and your family. Jiang Yingyao, we are not suitable for each other. Let's break up. Let the past be the past. Jiang Yingyao was very sad. He begged, let's go back and talk about it. Don't worry. I will not get engaged. They can't force me. However, Jian Luo seemed to be determined to break up with Jiang Yingyao. She was as determined as when she left Fei Wen. Ning Shu felt a little sympathetic for these two men. Girls were born with the right to choose. This situation was really painful. Jian Luo loved Jiang Yingyao more than she loved Fei Wen. However, the reality was really too heavy. Jiang Yingyao asked bitterly, "Are you going to marry him?" Standing at the door, he heard a lot. Jian Luo nodded. "Even if I don't marry him, I won't be with you. I really don't want to see you in a dilemma. If you have to choose between the Jiang family and me, then let me make the decision for you. You choose the Jiang family. I have my own choice." Jiang Yingyao looked at Jian Luo. "Are you serious? Do you really want to see me get engaged to someone else?" Jian Luo nodded. Jiang Yingyao looked deeply at Jian Luo and walked away in a daze. His back was extremely lonely. He was hunched over and had lost his spirit. He was abandoned by the whole world. Jian Luo called out to Jiang Yingyao. Jiang Yingyao turned around and looked at her with eyes full of expectation. Jian Luo said, "Start over and find a suitable wife. That rich lady can help you." Jiang Yingyao's eyes dimmed. "She is suitable for me, but she is not the person I love." He turned and left. Ning Shu curled his lips. He didn't expect that one day the male lead would be treated like a supporting male lead. This was completely for the supporting male lead to hear. Who was the male lead and who was the supporting male lead completely depended on who the female lead chose. As for Ning Shu, who was about to become the male lead, she was not happy at all. She just wanted to watch the show and didn't want to have anything to do with Jian Luo. What if one day Jian Luo had a sudden impulse and couldn't stand such a torment? Jian Luo's heart was fragile, but she was more resolute than both men, especially when it came to making a decision. After hurting both men, she had to make a choice between the two men. Normal people wouldn't choose between these two men, but Jian Luo didn't. She was nostalgic. After Jiang Yingyao left, Jian Luo looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "Why are you looking at me?" What was wrong with her? Jian Luo smiled and reached out to hold Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu had goosebumps and dodged Jian Luo's hand. "Can you please get out?" Chapter 3659. Jian Luo knew that Ning Shu was angry, so she didn't take his words to heart. Instead, she tolerated Ning Shu with the intention of making it up to him. Ning Shu was speechless. Humans were all lowly hooligans after all. She ignored him when he was nice to her, but now she couldn't even kick him away. What was wrong with her? Jian Luo asked the servant to bring the suitcase to her old room. Back here, looking at the spacious and clean house, Jian Luo felt as if she had let go of all her anger. People should still live happily. The servant was speechless. How shameless was she? She ran away from the marriage and now she came back. She even wanted to stay in her old room. Of course, the servant wouldn't listen to Jian Luo, so she looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu said directly, "Your old room has become a utility room. There is no room for you." Jian Luo looked at Ning Shu with some resentment. "Other rooms are fine too." Ning Shu shook his head. "I have nothing to do with you. You want to live in my house, eat my food and use my things. Get out. You're relying on me. I don't care if you live on the bridge or in a hotel. Just don't live in my house." Jian Luo thought too highly of herself. She thought that she was angry, but she would be fine after a while. Jian Luo's face turned pale. Seeing that Ning Shu didn't seem to be faking it, she could only leave with the suitcase. Before leaving, she bit her lip and said to Ning Shu, "Fei Wen, I'm sorry. Can you forgive me this time?" Ning Shu said, "No, get out." Jian Luo's face turned blue. Such straightforward words hurt her self-esteem, but she thought of something and her eyes were full of determination. She turned and left with the suitcase. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Jian Luo probably thought that it was easier to win him over than Jiang Yingyao. Jiang Yingyao himself was easy to win over, but Jiang Yingyao had the Jiang family behind him, so Jian Luo couldn't do anything. It was much easier to win her over. They had been friends for more than 10 years, and Fei Wen didn't have any elders. Fei Wen could make her own decisions. Fei Wen had a car and a house, but her parents were dead. The best conditions for choosing a mate. Ning Shu felt that Jian Luo was probably going to lose both ends. If Jiang Yingyao couldn't do it, then she definitely wouldn't be able to do it either. It didn't take long for the media to spread the news that the heir of the Jiang family, Jiang Yingyao, was going to be engaged to the daughter of a tycoon. This was the combination of the two consortiums. It was a huge commotion. Since the news had been released, this matter was more or less set in stone. If Jiang Yingyao refused to admit it and didn't want to get engaged, the Jiang family wouldn't have reported it so widely. Otherwise, the Jiang family would be the one to lose face in the end, and they would also offend their future in-laws. No matter how much Jiang Yingyao disliked the Jiang family, he would not joke about the Jiang family's affairs. It was probably because Jiang Yingyao's heart was as dead as ashes. Just like Jian Luo, he decided to get engaged. Ning Shu curled his lips. If that was the case, then this love triangle would become a four-sided love triangle. Everyone would gather at the table to play mahjong. The Jiang family was about to ask her to bring Jian Luo to the wedding. That was good. Ning Shu immediately informed Jian Luo that he would bring her to Jiang Yingyao's engagement ceremony. He asked her if she would go. Jian Luo hesitated for a while and agreed to go with Ning Shu that day. Since she was going to attend the engagement ceremony, she had to get styled. Ning Shu brought Jian Luo to the styling room. Jian Luo looked at Ning Shu with a smile on her face. In the past, she had always been cold and indifferent. Now, she could actually smile like a blooming flower. Of course, Jian Luo was happy. She used to do these things with Fei Wen. She didn't feel anything special in the past. But now that she thought about it again, there was a different kind of warmth. It made her feel touched. Life was like this. Little things were connected one by one. It was incomparably warm. Jian Luo seemed to be addicted to reminiscing. Ning Shu looked indifferent. He didn't care about what Jian Luo was saying or thinking. Ning Shu wanted to bring Jian Luo to get to know Jiang Yingyao better. She had no future with him. Although Jian Luo didn't seem to care much about Jiang Yingyao's engagement, she occasionally looked melancholic. She didn't realize it now, but she would realize it after a while. If Jian Luo wanted to be with Jiang Yingyao again, she would not only have to face the Jiang family, but also another conglomerate. At that time, when she left, Jian Luo would lose both sides. Since it was the engagement ceremony of the Jiang family's heir, it was also very grand. All the political and business celebrities attended. It was colorful. Both sides didn't lack money. They could be as grand and extravagant as possible. Jian Luo held Ning Shu's arm and attended the ceremony dressed up. Her clothes were extremely luxurious, and she wore a bright diamond necklace around her neck. She looked like she was going to compete with others. Was she also going to outshine the bride? Ning Shu thought, this, a woman's mind? He didn't bring Jian Luo here to cause trouble. The engagement process was very smooth. There were no problems. Jiang Yingyao was like a marionette the whole time. When he saw Ning Shu and Jian Luo attending together, his eyes were dim. He seemed to have let go of something, but he was struggling in his heart. Jiang Yingyao's wife was a beautiful woman. She was elegant and had the superiority and confidence of a rich family's daughter. She handled all kinds of situations appropriately. She had a smile on her face the whole time. Sometimes, she would hold Jiang Yingyao's arm and lean her head on it. It was very sweet and beautiful. At least in the eyes of outsiders, the two of them were very loving. They were a perfect match. Jian Luo looked at Jian Luo and his fiancée with a complicated expression. After all, they had walked on different paths. The first love in her memory had really become a memory. Madame Jiang was very happy to see Ning Shu attend with Jian Luo. Her wish was fulfilled. Jian Luo had no chance with Jiang Yingyao. She even got together with that illegitimate son. What kind of pot was matched with what kind of lid? That illegitimate son deserved such a woman. Some people were happy, while some people's hearts were dead. The engagement ceremony came to an end just like that. After attending the engagement ceremony, Ning Shu went abroad. He left Ning Shu to live abroad. The company in the country had been arranged. It was time to go back. Fei Wen lived abroad. When Jian Luo came to find Ning Shu, the whole villa was empty. The furniture in the house was covered with dust-proof cloth. Jian Luo was extremely shocked. She was terrified. The fear of being abandoned filled her heart. She called Ning Shu and asked where Ning Shu was while sobbing. Why wasn't he at home? Where did he go? Ning Shu said directly, I think I'm still not suitable for life in the country. I went abroad and won't go back in the future. Jian Luo covered her mouth and cried, Then what should I do? Ning Shu said, Do whatever you want. We have nothing to do with each other. You can live well on your own in the future. Jian Luo was dumbstruck as if she was struck by lightning. Chapter 3660. Jian Luo really cried and panicked. She did not expect Ning Shu to just leave like this. Although this was their hometown, she was unfamiliar with the people and the place. She felt especially scared and panicked. She could not help but ask, Why didn't you tell me? Ning Shu said indifferently, I have nothing to do with you. Even if we have broken up now. Why should I tell you? I go wherever I want to go. Although she said this, Jian Luo still felt a little angry. Even if we are friends, you should tell me. I don't think of you as a friend. Why should I tell you? Jian Luo was speechless. Look at your personality now. Ning Shu said, What's wrong with my personality? I am so rich and handsome. How can I have a good temper? Jian Luo softened her tone and said to Ning Shu, I know you are angry. Don't be angry, okay? It was my fault before. Can you really not forgive me this time? Ning Shu said, No, I don't like you now. It doesn't matter if I forgive you or not. Jian Luo did not give up and said, You are angry now. You were not like this before. I know you want to punish me. Were you now? Ning Shu said, Don't come looking for me. It wasn't easy for me to draw the line between us. As for the past, I treated it as a pet and spent some money on it. Now, you're not in my good graces. She also had to change this phone number. Otherwise, Jian Luo would harass her every day. I plan to start over and find a new girlfriend. You should start over too. Jian Luo cried and even said shamelessly, No, Fei Wen, no, I miss you. I just want to be by your side. You will let it go, just like how you let go of Jiang Yingyao. Good girl, don't come to me, or I will make you suffer. She had already given a warning. If Fei Wen insisted, she would really do it. To be honest, Jian Luo had an unfortunate childhood and her father was a murderer. Even an ordinary man would have to think about it. Fei Wen and Jiang Yingyao treated him like a treasure. Of course, they couldn't deny a person just because of these things. But over the years, Jian Luo's high standards were not just for show. Her spare tires were all like Fei Wen, young, handsome, and rich. Although Jiang Yingyao was a policeman, he was the heir of the Jiang family and had already inherited the Jiang family. Even if Jiang Yingyao didn't do anything for the rest of his life, he would still have endless money to spend. She had asked Jian Luo to choose one out of the two of them. An ordinary man would not even care about it. In short, Ning Shu liked Jian Luo's taste. She looked at the man who was handsome, but he was not sure if the other party would look at him. However, with Jian Luo's appearance, it was certain that she would attract some rich people. As for whether they were sincere or lustful towards Jian Luo, no one knew. Ning Shu hung up the phone and asked his men to keep an eye on Jian Luo. On the other end of the phone, Jian Luo stared at the phone in a daze, squatting and crying. Fear, loneliness flooded Jian Luo's heart. It was as if she was the only one left in the world. She had no family, no lover, no friends. Over the years, she was used to relying on Fei Wen. She absorbed warmth and nourishment from Fei Wen. Without Fei Wen, she seemed to be unable to do anything. Just like the giant baby, Jian Luo only wanted to find Fei Wen without hesitation. If Jian Luo had someone to rely on now, she would not miss Fei Wen so much. Because she did not, she became more dependent on Fei Wen. Jian Luo cried for a while, packed her things, and bought a plane ticket to go abroad to find Fei Wen. She really did not believe that Fei Wen would be so heartless. He really did not care about her. Fei Wen was the most important person in her life. Jian Luo quit her job. Speaking of which, this job was because of Jiang Yingyao. Previously, no company was willing to hire her. When Jiang Yingyao returned to the Jiang family, no company found a reason to reject her. But when she entered the company did not use her designs at all, but still paid her. They looked at her design drafts and said that they were good, very good, but they did not use them. They must have hired her as an idler for the sake of the Jiang family. There was no point in doing this kind of work. She could not feel her own value and only received a little salary like a beggar. It was completely different from when she was in Fei Wen's company. The previous environment was too good, and she was fully respected. Why was the last job so torturous? Jian Luo rushed off the plane and went directly to the manor to find Ning Shu. This manor was where they used to live. It was a rather large manor. The garden was very big and filled with all kinds of flowers. The air was filled with the fragrance of flowers. The sunlight was very good, and it reflected on the flowers, giving them a faint glow. There were gardeners trimming the lawn and branches. They were busy and full of fun. There was a tea and coffee shed next to the lawn. It was open air with a white umbrella and an exquisite table below. Jian Luo's eyes were fixed on this place because two people were having afternoon tea. It was a man and a woman. The man was Fei Wen. Jian Luo did not know the woman, but the woman was very good-looking. She was wearing a fresh dress and had a particularly good temperament. She held a cup of coffee, took a sip and said something to Fei Wen. Fei Wen's face showed a very dazzling smile, which made Jian Luo very unhappy. She felt like her things were being stolen. In the past, Fei Wen only smiled at her and she did not feel anything. But to smile at another woman, Jian Luo's heart was scratching. What was the relationship between the two? Was Fei Wen going to marry this woman? Jian Luo's heart was filled with fear. Fei Wen was going to marry someone else. This was something Jian Luo had never thought of. If Jian Luo and Jiang Yingyao were together, and Fei Wen married another woman, she would not feel much. But now, she felt that it was a big deal. Bitterness, grievance, and anger filled her heart. Jian Luo dragged the box and walked over. She said to Ning Shu, "Who is this lady?" Ning Shu looked at her. He had already known that Jian Luo was here. Jian Luo would come over, which was within Ning Shu's expectations. But to ask who she was in the tone of a female lead, it was also a joke. Ning Shu frowned and looked unhappy. "Why are you here? Didn't I say not to look for me?" Jian Luo did not expect Ning Shu to not give her any face in front of others. She was so embarrassed that she almost cried. The woman looked at the embarrassed Jian Luo and said, "President Fei, I will look for you next time." Next time? /BK. Chapter 3661. What was the relationship between the two? What stage had it developed to? Were they in a relationship or getting married? Jian Luo's mind was in a storm as she looked at the woman's beautiful back. On the phone, Ning Shu asked the servant to put away the coffee cup. Jian Luo suddenly jumped out on such a sunny day. It was really annoying. Jian Luo followed behind Ning Shu and asked, "Who is that woman? What does it have to do with you, Pacific Police? You're so nosy. Also, I told you, don't come to me." Jian Luo reached out and tugged at Ning Shu's sleeve pitifully. Fei Wen, Ning Shu said, "Are you calling my soul? I don't want to be with you at all. From the moment you decided to be with Jiang Yingyao, I saw through your nature. Also, I like men. Even if I want to marry a woman, it won't be you. I used to be nice to you because I was raising a pet." Fei Wen doted on Jian Luo in a more popular way now. She spoiled Jian Luo to the point that she couldn't tell the difference between the 5 grains and 4 limbs. She was spoiled to the point that she became disabled and was raised like a daughter. Then she successfully raised a person who relied on her. Jian Luo's life with Jiang Yingyao was no different from Fei Wen's. They were both rich and had servants to serve them. A giant baby was transferred from one person to another. There was no difference. But now this giant baby was not accepted by anyone. The giant baby panicked and found the most suitable person to raise it. This person was undoubtedly Fei Wen. Ning Shu asked someone to send Jian Luo out and told the servant not to open the door for Jian Luo in the future. Jian Luo was no longer the owner of this manor. The servants looked at each other and didn't know whether Ning Shu was telling the truth or not. After all, they had worked in the manor for a long time and knew clearly how good the male owner was to Jian Luo. Maybe the two of them were at odds. If they went too far, when the two of them got back together, their position would be a bit awkward. It would be very awkward. Ning Shu reassured these people. Don't worry, Jian Luo had no chance to become the female owner of this manor and planned to find someone else to marry. He also said that Jian Luo had cheated on him and said that he would not be with Jian Luo anymore. Hearing that Jian Luo had cheated on him, these servants were very angry, but they were also relieved. They could keep Jian Luo at the door with a clear conscience. Jian Luo was chased out of the manor and the box was thrown beside her. "Aunt Zhang, why are you like this?" Jian Luo looked at Auntie Zhang in shock. This woman had worked in the manor for a long time. For more than 10 years, they had been together day and night. He didn't expect her to be so heartless. Auntie Zhang spat. "You've done such a thing, and you still expect Fei Wen to let bygones be bygones? Where's your brain?" Auntie Zhang was good to Jian Luo because Jian Luo was going to marry Fei Wen in the future. In terms of closeness, of course, she was closer to Fei Wen. Fei Wen was her boss. He gave her a salary and supported her. What was Jian Luo? The fact that she didn't call him shameless was already out of consideration for their past relationship. She didn't want to make things too unpleasant. The gate of the manor closed with a bang. Jian Luo stood alone at the gate. She wanted to cry but had no tears. However, she was unwilling to give up and kept waiting at the gate. She knew that there were surveillance cameras at the gate. Fei Wen must be able to see it. However, she waited until night fell. Fei Wen didn't come out, but he didn't let her in either. Although it wasn't cold now, the night was cold. Jian Luo couldn't help but rub her arms. She opened the suitcase and took out her clothes to put on. She had been guarding him all along. Ning Shu finished his dinner happily and said to Auntie Zhang, "Don't send food to outsiders. If you do, she will think that I have forgiven her. She will want a yard after taking an inch." If she sent dinner, Jian Luo would definitely misunderstand and think that she was soft-hearted. Otherwise, she wouldn't send food to her. Seeing that there was hope, Jian Luo would continue to harass her. "You can keep waiting and see if your stomach is hungry. I won't send you a grain of rice or a drop of water." People were so strange. In the past, she would send whatever was expensive, but they didn't care at all. Now, she didn't give anything and couldn't be driven away. Auntie Zhang wanted to send some food to Jian Luo, even if it was just bread. However, after hearing Ning Shu's words, she naturally listened to her boss. There was no need to offend her parents for someone who had nothing to do with her. Jian Luo held onto the gate and looked at the brightly lit manor. Her heart was very sour. She didn't feel anything when she was in the manor before. Now, she felt that the manor was so warm. It was so safe to have a place to stay. Until now, Jian Luo realized that she didn't even have a house, whether it was in the country or abroad. She was driven out and she was homeless. She was hungry. The last time she ate was on the plane. She ate some in-flight food. The food on the plane didn't taste very good. Jian Luo had something on her mind and didn't have much appetite. She was already hungry. It wasn't easy to endure until morning. She thought that Fei Wen would be soft-hearted, but he was still indifferent. At noon, she was already hypoglycemic. Her face was pale and she didn't have much energy. She leaned against the suitcase listlessly. However, Jian Luo was still enduring. She used herself as a bargaining chip to gamble with Ning Shu. Ning Shu was still indifferent. However, Auntie Zhang was a little uneasy. She asked Ning Shu what they should do. They couldn't really let Jian Luo starve to death outside. Ning Shu said, "Call the ambulance when she faints from hunger." The body belonged to Jian Luo. It was none of her business if she got sick from hunger. Jian Luo was the one suffering. Jian Luo really liked to torture herself. First, she cut her wrists to commit suicide. Now, she was starving herself to death. She didn't really want to starve herself to death. She just wanted to make Fei Wen, who liked her, give in. Jian Luo had no other bargaining chip. She only had this body. This was the only body she could use. Auntie Zhang. Why did you wait until she fainted to call? Ning Shu asked back. Is she willing to leave when she's conscious? Auntie Zhang. Jian Luo persisted for another night. She persisted for a day and a night without drinking. Her stomach was cramping and her mouth was dry. Jian Luo was dizzy. She had caught a cold and her body was in danger. However, she still gritted her teeth and persisted. She hoped that the door would open and Fei Wen would walk out. Jian Luo wanted to cry. She felt wronged. Was Fei Wen really going to leave her alone? However, she heard the sound of the ambulance. It was getting closer and closer. She was already hallucinating. In the end, Jian Luo couldn't hold on any longer. She fainted and was carried into the ambulance. Ning Shu saw from the surveillance that Jian Luo was taken away. He smiled. The medical treatment abroad was quite expensive. When Jian Luo woke up in the hospital, all the money in her pocket would be used to pay for the medical expenses. He hadn't even paid her the medical expenses this time. Now, he wanted to take money from her pocket. He was living in a dream. /BK. Chapter 3662. From the beginning to the end, Ning Shu did not go out to check on Jian Luo. Jian Luo was just a little hypoglycemia, plus she did not rest well, so she caught a cold. She just needed some glucose to lower her temperature. It was not a big problem. When she woke up, the first thing the nurse did was to ask Jian Luo to pay the medical fees and get some cold medicine before she could leave. Jian Luo used all the money she had to pay the medical fees. It was not easy to get the money. The medical fees overseas were really expensive. Jian Luo dragged her tired body out of the hospital, not knowing where to go. She had no money and no place to stay. The only person she could find was Fei Wen. But Fian refused to see her. Jian Luo wiped her eyes and could not help but cry. The most important thing now was to find a place to stay. She did not have that much money, so she could only find a cheap place to stay. It was really unsafe for a single woman like her, especially in a place like overseas where it was legal to carry a gun. Jian Luo was scared. She found a small hotel. It was dirty, and there were some people speaking in a rough language. She hugged her female companion and entered the room. There were also some men looking at her up and down. Jian Luo was very scared. She dragged her suitcase into the room. The room was filled with an inexplicable smell. There were some marks on the bedsheet. She did not know what someone had done on the bed before. The problem was why the hotel did not change the bedsheets. Jian Luo had a good life. She was poor when she was young, but she had been with Fei Wen for more than 10 years. The soundproofing of the hotel was not very good. It was not dark yet, but the next room was already noisy. The voices of men and women were mixed together. Jian Luo only felt disgusted. She did not blush or have a heartbeat. She even wanted to cry. The feeling of being poor was not good. There was no high bed or soft pillow, no comfortable environment, only cramped and depressed. Being ordinary was not good at all. Jian Luo did not like money, but she had to worry about money because she could not afford to stay for more than a few days. So now she had to find a job. But it was not easy to get a job. She needed to submit her resume one by one, and there was a gap in between. What should she do during this period? Even if she worked, she would not get paid immediately. Jian Luo did not expect to live so poorly. Now she just wanted to go back to her previous life. The fastest way to earn money was to work as a waiter in a fast food restaurant, which was paid by the hour. First, he had to ensure his own survival before he could talk about the matter with Fei Wen. Jian Luo knew that if she went to Fei Wen now, Fei Wen was still angry and would not care about her. After some time, he would look for Li Wen. Jian Luo applied for a job as a waitress in a fast food restaurant. Her job was to serve the dishes to the guests and clean up the table after the guests left. It was a relatively simple job. He could definitely support himself by doing this. Jian Luo started to work. In the beginning, she was not used to this kind of work. She had to pour tea for people, and because her hands slipped, she knocked over the food and made a mess. The customer was not satisfied, and the store manager was not satisfied either. He said that if he really could not do this job, he would look for another one. Jian Luo humbly promised that she would do it well. If he didn't have a job, he wouldn't have the money to pay the rent. Although the room wasn't good and was full of mildew, at least he had a place to rest. It wasn't like they didn't even have a place to rest. It was safer than walking on the streets. Every time she returned to the hotel, she would be looked at by a group of people. Probably because she was a single woman, there was always a hint of meaning in their eyes. Jian Luo was afraid that a man would rush in and hurt her. Jian Luo was scared just thinking about being hurt like this when she was a young girl. In Fei Wen's manner, she never thought about safety, and she would not have anything to do with these people who had nothing to do at the lower levels. There were only luxurious clothes and luxurious luxuries. Everywhere she went, the floor was filled with fragrance, whether it was the fragrance of wine or perfume. Everything was so beautiful that the tip of her nose would not smell the stench. Jian Luo did not dare to sleep too deeply at night. There were always men and women next door who were tirelessly making all kinds of noises. It was endless. If she did not sleep well, she would not be energetic. Jian Luo wanted to change places, but she did not have extra money. She ate the cheapest fast food for 3 meals a day. When she ate it, it was greasy and not refreshing at all. Jian Luo thought of the food she used to eat, but now it was an extravagant hope. Jian Luo always thought that when she had time, she would go and find Fei Wen. But the longer she lived like this, the lower her value was. She felt more and more that she was not worthy of Fei Wen. She was just a woman who did not even have a formal job and dealt with all kinds of customers every day. Some customers even entertained the waiters. Every time Jian Luo was teased, she was so embarrassed that she wanted to cry. She did not find it interesting at all. Sometimes, when she was slapped on the butt, she could only endure it because she had no money. No money meant no food, shelter, and transportation. Jian Luo felt that she was struggling in a whirlpool. This whirlpool would swallow her sooner or later. She tried to break free, but she could not. But if she let this whirlpool swallow her, then she would really be depraved. Jian Luo felt that she was getting further and further away from Fei Wen. She was getting lower and lower, and Fei Wen was getting higher and higher. She did not have the confidence to be worthy of Fei Wen. She paced back and forth at the gate of the manor, looking at the iron gate. She did not have the confidence to ring the doorbell and see Fei Wen. Fei Wen touched her face. Was she beautiful now? In the mottled mirror, there was a pale and tired face. Her skin was not as white as before, and her eyes were not bright. The mentality determined her youth. But food, shelter, and transportation, when survival took up all one's time in life, there was no good mentality at all. A person who was tired and in a hurry would not be able to relax. Those who lived elegantly and comfortably were all supported by a rich material foundation. There was no fear, no need to worry about not having food to eat or a house to live in. Unlike those who had no money, they were full of insecurity. Jian Luo wanted to change, but she did not know how to change. Her resume was like a stone sinking into the sea. People did not want a designer like her. Jian Luo had a clear understanding that she would not be able to apply for a designer job. Designers seemed to be a job for the rich. With resources, designers could use their talents well. What was she going to do without money and power? Was she going to stay like this, doing temporary jobs? This kind of life was really terrible. Jian Luo shuddered just thinking about it. If she had not seen the scenery at the top, it would have been fine. But after seeing it, she was not willing to stay in the mud. Chapter 3663. The more difficult it was, the more he yearned for his previous life. Without comparison, there would be hurt. That kind of life was simply like the life of a deity. Now, taking public transport was crowded with people just to save on the fare. It was funny. Money was such a tacky thing. Friendship, love, and family, once money was involved, it felt like these beautiful feelings were tainted. But how a person lived all depended on whether or not he had it. To put it in an extreme way, if a person didn't have money, he wouldn't be a Liren. Now, Jian Luo was being tortured by reality over and over again, just because she had no money. Unable to live in a big house, unable to have a clean environment, unable to be respected by others, unable to work in a big office. His confidence was like a small boat that could be swallowed by the sea at any time. Even Jian Luo herself began to question herself. Would Fei Wen love a woman like her? He asked again and again, but the more he asked, the more uncertain he felt. She was no longer beautiful after being ravaged by life. Without her beautiful appearance, Jian Luo's confidence would drop. She couldn't go on like this. The longer she waited, the more Fei Wen would forget about her and marry another woman. Now that Jian Luo had finished Jiang Yingyao, she had no time to care about anything else in order to survive. She just wanted to return to her previous life, where she didn't have to worry about food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, and had Fei Wen's love. Jian Luo found Auntie Zhang and asked Auntie Zhang to allow her to work in the manor. Even if she had to be a maid, it would be fine as long as she could see Fei Wen. People know how to cherish things when they lose them. In the past, Jian Luo did not care so much about Fei Wen. At most, she treated him as a family member. He tried now to see Fuan. And now, Jian Luo was very good at dealing with people. She even gave Aunt Zhang a gift. In the past, Jian Luo was still a little lofty, a melancholy and artistic young woman. Now that life had done something to her, Jian Luo had become mellow. His edges and corners were smoothed out. Aunt Zhang looked at the various tonics and said helplessly, "I don't know if Sir wants to see you." After all, they had lived together for more than 10 years. Seeing Jian Luo begging her in such a low voice, she also felt some pity. Aunt Zhang knew about Jian Luo's situation. She had no relatives in the world, just like Mr. But what Jian Luo did made Aunt Zhang frown. Jian Luo betrayed Sir. Jian Luo begged Auntie Zhang. Auntie Zhang had no choice but to agree to let Jian Luo be a maid. She would usually work in the house. Jian Luo was very happy and thanked Aunt Zhang repeatedly. Aunt Zhang was a little helpless. Was this still the old Jian Luo? She was so happy to work. What had Jian Luo experienced these days? It was probably because he had gone through hardships that he realized how good his life was in the past. Jian Luo looked at the beautiful manor. Her heart was extremely complicated. She had lived in such a manor before, but she did not feel that it was special. But looking at it now, it was simply a paradise on earth. Jian Luo felt a little reserved now. Jian Luo felt a lot more comfortable after putting on the maid's uniform. It was more comfortable than the clothes in the fast food restaurant. Early in the morning, Jian Luo waited anxiously for Fei Wen to come down for breakfast. She didn't know if Fei Wen's anger had subsided or if he was happy to see her. Jian Luo thought a lot and waited for Aunt Zhang to inform her to bring breakfast to the dining room. These dishes were simple yet exquisite. Just looking at their appearance was enough to make people salivate. They were much more fragrant than greasy fast food. Jian Luo, who had been ravaged by junk food, was a little hungry. By the time Auntie Zhang asked them to deliver the food, Jian Luo's body was stiff and her breathing was rapid. Aunt Zhang sighed and said to her, "Whether you can stay or not depends on Sir's mood." Jian Luo nodded. Ning Shu looked at Jian Luo, who was serving the food, and curled his lips. Did they really think that she didn't know anything about the transaction under her nose? Since Jian Luo was willing to pay for the transaction, let Aunt Zhang accept some things. Aunt Zhang had taken care of Jian Luo all these years, but she had never seen Jian Luo pay a penny. The people in this manor were all paid by Fei Wen. Ning Shu stared at Jian Luo. Jian Luo felt numb and almost couldn't hold the plate. Aunt Zhang was also very nervous. She regretted that she was greedy and insisted on accepting Jian Luo's things. If Sir was angry with her, compared to such little things, the salary was the most important. Jian Luo carefully put down the plate and stepped aside to stand with the other maids. Ning Shu was still staring at her and did not speak. Jian Luo felt uncomfortable. Her heart was beating very fast, her face was flushed, and she was so nervous that her nose was sweating. The air was stagnant. After a while, Ning Shu asked, "There's a new maid?" Aunt Zhang and Jian Luo were stunned at the same time. Don't know? Jian Luo looked at Fei Wen in shock. She was now so ugly that Fei Wen could not recognize her. Aunt Zhang did not know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that she really did not have to give face to Jian Luo in the future. Jian Luo was just about to speak when Ning Shu said, "She looks a bit familiar." Jian Luo was speechless. He did it on purpose? Jian Luo wanted to speak, but was stopped by Aunt Zhang. Jian Luo was about to cry. She had thought of many possibilities, but she did not expect Fei Wen to have such a reaction. Ning Shu began to eat breakfast. After eating, he wiped his mouth with a handkerchief and said to Aunt Zhang, "This person is not suitable to stay in the manor. She is not generous and reserved. Give her the salary." Jian Luo was shocked again. She tried hard to convince herself that maybe her face was not good now. She could live in the manor for a while and recover her beauty. Whether Fei Wen really could not recognize her or was pretending, as long as she could stay in the manor, it would be fine. She did not want to go back to that small hotel. Some men were looking at her more and more presumptuous. They probably knew that she was alone, so they had evil thoughts. But Jian Luo wanted to drive her away. Jian Luo was about to cry. Aunt Zhang saw the situation and pulled Jian Luo away. Jian Luo still wanted to speak, but Aunt Zhang covered her mouth and dragged her away. Ning Shu did not even look at her. Jian Luo's eyes became dimmer and dimmer. Auntie Zhang returned all the things that Jian Luo had given to her, and also paid her half a month's salary. The manor was very generous to the maids. Although Jian Luo only worked for 2 or 3 hours, she received half a month's salary. Jian Luo squatted on the ground and cried with her face covered. If she had known this would happen, she would not have done it. Ning Shu felt that he could complete the task. Even if the client came back and wanted to accept Jian Luo would be flattered and be loyal to Fei Wen. She was afraid of returning to such a hard life. Jian Luo would rather go back to Jiang Yingyao than waste time with her. Jiang Yingyao was more soft-hearted than her and would help Jian Luo. But Jiang Yingyao's fiancé would not give up. The girl at the engagement party was also a clear-headed person. Alas, she wanted to go back and see Fa Tian. She did not know what Fa Tian was doing when she was not around. Was he reading and writing, or playing with the little mouse? She did not know if the iceberg had melted and how many energy bodies were there. Chapter 3664. Auntie Zhang felt that Sir did not want to push things too far. After all, she had fallen in love again. It was up to Jian Luo to see if she was tactful. Even if she was not tactful, there was nothing she could do. There was no place for her here. Jian Luo accepted the things that Auntie Zhang returned to her. She had spent a lot of money to buy these things and kept them for her own use. This was what it meant to be poor. Now Jian Luo was extremely regretful. Why did she buy such expensive gifts for Old Lady Jiang? Old Lady Jiang accepted these things but did not acknowledge her. These things were wasted. Auntie Zhang was speechless. Although she was definitely returning these things to Jian Luo accepted them without any hesitation. This made Auntie Zhang feel uncomfortable. She risked being punished by Sir and losing her job to let Jian Luo work in the manor. Was she not worthy and not qualified to take these things? This person was too stingy. How much could these things cost? She did not expect Jian Luo to be such a person. Auntie Zhang felt like cursing Xiao Tianquan. If she helped Jian Luo again in the future, she would not be human. How could she not know how to be a person? Even like this, she still wanted to get Sir back. Auntie Zhang was very unhappy. Her tone was cold. Since your salary has been paid, you should leave quickly. Jian Luo was very sad. She even treated Auntie Zhang as her confidant. She said, "Auntie Zhang, does Fei Wen really not recognize me?" Auntie Zhang rolled her eyes. How could he not recognize her? What if she was alone at home? It was impossible to completely turn into someone else. Obviously, he did not want to recognize her. Only Jian Luo was worried about her gains and losses. She actually believed that Sir really did not recognize her. Okay, you should leave quickly. We'll talk about it later. Auntie Zhang only wanted Jian Luo to leave now. Take those things and leave. Jian Luo left the manor dejectedly. Life was so difficult that Jian Luo felt like she was in hell. Now, she urgently needed to solve the problem of material poverty. Jian Luo could not wait to get back together with Fei Wen. First, it was because she was really lonely. She did not have any relatives or friends around her. Second, she wanted to solve the problem of material poverty. But she was defeated. Jian Luo returned to the moldy hotel again. Men and women were tossing around next door. Groups of people were changed. At the bar of the hotel, a man who had nothing to do looked at Jian Luo. He squinted his eyes to hide the desire in his eyes. Jian Luo felt that the man was about to lose control. She had been alone for such a long time, and she was of a different race. Even if something were to happen in a foreign country, no one would be able to help him. Jian Luo was very scared. She used half a month's salary from the manor to buy a plane ticket back home. She wanted to go back and find Jiang Yingyao. Carrying the suitcase, he left in a hurry, leaving behind a disappointed look. Jian Luo breathed a sigh of relief and boarded the plane back to her motherland. The first thing she did was to call Jiang Yingyao, but a woman answered the phone. The woman's voice was graceful and gentle. Jian Luo was speechless for a moment and hung up the phone. She repeatedly confirmed that this was Jiang Yingyao's number. Why did a woman pick it up? Could she be Jiang Yingyao's fiancée? The woman on the other end of the phone was baffled. She hung up without saying a word. What was she doing? When she saw Jiang Yingyao, the secretary passed the phone to him and said, "A woman called you," but she hung up without saying anything. "Her name is Jian Luo." Jiang Yingyao was stunned when he heard the name. Seeing the secretary sizing him up, he explained, "She's my former classmate." The secretary nodded and did not say anything. Jiang Yingyao said to the secretary, "Cancel all the arrangements for this afternoon. I have something to do. Order a bouquet of flowers and a restaurant by the way." "Secretary, are you going to meet your former classmate?" Jiang Yingyao said, "I'm having dinner with my fiancée tonight." The secretary nodded and went to arrange it. Jiang Yingyao went to a secluded place to make a call. Jian Luo should be married to Fei Wen now. Jian Luo picked up the phone and said with some jealousy, "Who answered the phone just now? Was it your fiancé?" Jiang Yingyao took a deep breath and suppressed the fluctuation in his heart. He said, "No, I was in a meeting just now." It was the secretary who answered the phone. Jian Luo breathed a sigh of relief and felt a little better. However, Jian Luo was not qualified to question Jiang Yingyao now, but she seemed to have subconsciously ignored this point. The two agreed to meet in an ordinary restaurant. Jian Luo had been waiting for a long time. Jiang Yingyao arrived late and was a little surprised when he saw the haggard Jian Luo. She looked haggard and her clothes were a little wrinkled. It was obvious that she had not been living a good life. Jiang Yingyao frowned. What was going on? Wasn't she going to marry Fei Wen? Why did she look like this? Did Fei Wen not treat her well? Jiang Yingyao sat down and asked, "Why are you looking for me?" Jian Luo did not know what to say for a moment. She only felt that when she saw the tall figure and the awe-inspiring righteousness of a police officer, she suddenly felt a lot safer. It was too dangerous abroad. Jian Luo said, "I broke up with Fei Wen." Jiang Yingyao asked, "Why?" She did not choose Fei Wen. Fei Wen should be good to her. In the past 10 years, Fei Wen had taken care of Jian Luo. Jian Luo and Fei Wen being together was the best choice. Jian Luo was stunned. Because Fei Wen ignored her. However, she could not say such embarrassing words. She changed the topic and asked, "How are you and your fiancé?" Jiang Yingyao smiled bitterly. "You should know what happened between us." Jian Luo was relieved. At least the two of them were not in love. Jian Luo stared at Jiang Yingyao. "I can't forget you." She even reached out her hand and looked at Jiang Yingyao with tears in her eyes. Jiang Yingyao looked conflicted and finally retracted his hand. "I already have a fiancé." Or was it because of Jian Luo's hurt that he got engaged to the daughter of a conglomerate? Speaking of which, Jian Luo also contributed to this matter. Jiang Yingyao's rejection shocked and hurt Jian Luo. She thought that Jiang Yingyao would accept her. But wasn't Jiang Yingyao full of love and guilt towards her? Now she only wanted to be with Jiang Yingyao. As for whether she was his wife or not, Jian Luo could force herself to accept it. She had already lowered her standards. She never expected Jiang Yingyao to reject her. Jian Luo asked in a daze, why? Did Jiang Yingyao not love her anymore? Did all men's feelings change so quickly? Fei Wen was like this. Jiang Yingyao was also like this. Now both men did not want her. What was going on? Jiang Yingyao said, I have already made my choice. Although he was forced, it was the truth and could not be changed. Chapter 3665. Jian Luo was shocked. From Jiang Yingyao's tone, it seemed that he planned to live a good life with his fiancée. Her voice was a little sharp. But you don't love her? Jiang Yingyao nodded. I don't love her, but that's not a reason for me to hurt her. The Jiang family was using her father to pave the way for me. I don't love her, but she's already my fiancée. Soon she'll be my wife. Because I used her and because I don't love her. I'm already feeling guilty. Not loving her is not a reason for me to hurt her. As a former good cop, he couldn't use the excuse of not loving her to hurt his future wife. His fiancée didn't do anything wrong. Even if he didn't love her, it was because of himself. He had someone else in his heart and couldn't let go. His fiancée didn't do anything wrong. Why should she be hurt and punished? Jiang Yingyao had been a cop for a long time. He cared about right and wrong. His fiancée was an innocent person. Jian Luo was speechless. Are you going to live like a zombie with someone you don't love? What's the fun in living like this? Jiang Yingyao sighed. Life is so helpless. Living like a zombie? Maybe? His wife was a good woman. If he had a good wife and a child, he should have a complete life. As for the rest, it wasn't very important. When he broke up with Jian Luo, Jiang Yingyao was in so much pain that he almost died. But after enduring it, his mentality seemed to have changed. Rather than this pain, it was better to live a normal life. It was too painful. Jian Luo couldn't accept the fact that she was abandoned by two men. Previously, the two men looked like they couldn't live without her. They broke up with her in the blink of an eye, and the other had a fiancé. Jian Luo said a little sharply, You actually wanted to abandon me and choose the Jiang family. After tossing and turning for a while, they finally returned to their own paths in life. Jiang Yingyao became the heir of the Jiang family and married a wife of equal status. She was a perfect person. She became an abandoned person, and because she angered Fei Wen gave up on her. Everyone was fine, but she was crushed into a pile of mud. Jian Luo lost control of her emotions and questioned Jiang Yingyao. Everyone in the restaurant looked at Jian Luo. Jian Luo did not care about other people's gazes. She accused Jiang Yingyao as if Jiang Yingyao was a scumbag. Jiang Yingyao looked at Jian Luo helplessly. The angry Jian Luo's facial muscles were contorted. She was bristling with anger, sharp and harsh. People looked really ugly when they were angry. What had happened that forced Jian Luo into this state? Did Fei Wen not care about her at all? Jiang Yingyao's heart ached. The stubborn girl in his memory had now become like this. But they could no longer be together. If Jane had given him more time and trust, they might have been together. He was dealing with those old foxes in the company and reading all kinds of mind-numbing documents. His brain seemed to have been occupied by the legal provisions. Looking at these documents, his brain was not enough. Doing things that he did not like, every minute and every second was torture, and he had to rely on Jian Luo to support him. He wanted to be with Jian Luo openly, receive everyone's blessings, and at the same time, let Jian Luo have good material conditions. He wanted to become an outstanding entrepreneur and a qualified heir to his family. But he missed it just like that. Jiang Yingyao did not stop Jian Luo and let her vent. Jian Luo, who had vented enough, covered her face and cried. What should I do? What should I do? Jiang Yingyao took out a check and wrote the amount on it. Take this money, it will make your life better. With such a face, she was definitely not a person with good material conditions. Don't come to me in the future. I'm sorry, Jian Luo. Jian Luo looked at the check and let out a sad laugh. Her whole person seemed to have been sucked out of her. Jiang Yingyao raised his wrist and looked at his watch. He stood up and said, "I have to go." Jian Luo was stunned and ignored Jiang Yingyao. Jiang Yingyao sighed almost imperceptibly and walked away. He still had an appointment in the evening. Jiang Yingyao went to the restaurant that the secretary had mentioned. His fiancée was already waiting. Under the dim light of the restaurant, it looked beautiful and quiet. Her skin seemed to be coated with a faint luster. His fiancée was very beautiful. Jiang Yingyao thought of Jian Luo's twisted and terrible face when she was angry. "You're here." His fiancée smiled at him. Jiang Yingyao nodded. "I went to see someone. I'm late." "I'm hungry. Let's eat." His fiancée said. Jiang Yingyao asked, "Why don't you ask me who I went to see?" "Okay, who did you go to see?" His fiancée asked. Jiang Yingyao suddenly smiled. "An old friend." Ning Shu was swimming in the manor's swimming pool. Suddenly, he felt relieved as if something had moved away. He felt much better. His whole body was suddenly filled with energy. Ning Shu swam around the pool several times. When he felt tired, he came up and used a handkerchief to wipe the water off his body. Ning Shu could guess why Fei Wen felt so happy. Probably because Jian Luo was defeated by these two men. Jiang Yingyao probably would not accept Jian Luo. She made a ruckus and jumped around between the two men, but neither of them managed to get a single one. She did not have the courage to endure with Jiang Yingyao. In the blink of an eye, she wanted to be with Fei Wen. She did not have a firm stand. In the end, she lost everything. Not to mention that she loved both of them. At most, she could not bear to part with both of them. Only a broken car needed a lot of spare tires. Mission completed. "Do you want to leave?" Dan Qing asked. Ning Shu nodded. "Let's go." He should have left long ago. This mission did not take him much effort. The person who asked him to do it would just be angry. Now Jian Luo had failed. How could there be so many perfect people in this world? At most, they would have more strengths and fewer weaknesses. How could they be called human if they had no weaknesses? In the future, if Jian Luo looked for a partner based on Jiang Yingyao and Fei Wen's standards, she would probably be alone for the rest of her life. He was rich, handsome, and loved her so much that she could not help herself. He could only say that she was shameless. His soul left Fei Wen's body and returned to the system space. Ning Shu. As soon as he came back, he heard a childish voice and a ball pouncing on him. It was the first time he was received so warmly. Ning Shu hugged Fei Tian. "You can even call me by my name." The little mouse said helplessly, "I learned it recently." Ning Shu praised, "Very good." The little mouse was probably annoyed by Fei Tian. As soon as Ning Shu came back, it ran away. It probably went to find Li Wen. Ning Shu asked, "Did you go to see the iceberg? Did it melt?" "No, I couldn't get away," the little mouse said tiredly. Chapter 3666. Ning Shu hugged Fei Tian, and Fei Tian sat on Ning Shu's lap, his arms wrapped around Ning Shu's neck. Ning Shu pushed his hands away. "Don't be so clingy." After pushing his hands away, Fei Tian hugged Ning Shu's neck again, grinning. After a few rounds, Ning Shu just let him be. When Fei Tian grew up, he would definitely not be so clingy. This would be Fei Tian's dark history, and he could even laugh at Fei Tian when he was free. He believed that when he grew older, Fei Tian would be more aware of his own gender, and he would be too embarrassed to be so clingy. Ning Shu opened his status panel and absorbed the soul power this time. "You want to absorb it too?" Ning Shu asked when he saw Fei Tian's expectant eyes. Fei Tian hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes." Ning Shu directly refused. Previously, when Fei Tian came into contact with the baleful aura, it was so hot that it almost melted. The soul power was not clean, and it contained the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Fei Tian's heart was pure, and it was not good for him to come into contact with it. Even if he wanted to absorb the soul power, it should be pure. Even if he wanted to absorb it, he had to wait until he was stronger and had a stronger resistance. Fei Tian was stunned for a moment, clearly not expecting Ning Shu to reject him so heartlessly. He immediately pouted, no longer hugging Ning Shu's neck, and squatted in the corner. Ning Shu ignored him, letting him grow mushrooms in the corner. Little Mouse, who was tired of Fation, said, "He just wants to eat some soul power, just let him have a taste. Why do you have to be like this?" Ning Shu, "What does it have to do with you?" It has nothing to do with me. I'm too lazy to care. Hurry up and go look at the iceberg. Little Mouse said in a bad mood. He wanted to eat energy. He was so hungry. This child should be left alone. It was better than chattering and asking all sorts of questions. When Ning Shu was not here, Little Mouse was almost driven crazy by Fation. He could not leave Fation and run away. If something happened to Fation, Ning Shu would come back and cause trouble for him. This woman was very petty and pretentious. She was very vengeful. Ning Shu absorbed the soul power as he opened his status panel. Name, Ning, age, 27, rank, Super Mission Enforcer points card, 276 plus 10 million points for 1 point card. Soul, 36 plus 1 health, 33 plus 1 wisdom, 44 plus 1 luck, 29 plus 1 charm, 20 plus 1 spirit, 45 plus 1 force, 32 plus 1 aptitude, 39 plus 1 faith, 25,025, 000 merit, 0 soul, 15 plus 5 authorization vote, 0 heart, pureness law, rule, non-constructed world, reincarnation world items, calm aura, heart calming pill, amulet 4, upgraded amulet plus 2, faith bell honorary titles, goddess of war, selfless ancestor skills, 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate fighting technique, intermediate level poison technique, beginner level, business management knowledge, beginner level code programming, beginner level lawyer skill, sage ghost catching skill, beginner level cooking skill, intermediate level embroidery skill, trash hypnosis aura, mother of the world, queen's blessing, sister model worker, Chen-Shi's blessing, leader aura, grass blessing, best friend for life, Meow Meow Meow's blessing, life-saving hand, Zhu Su, blessing, founding woman, Chen Ermiai's blessing, lawful lady, Chen Ning's blessing, bane of the blood, clan, Jasmine's blessing, transcending race communication, by Sanyang's blessing, brave heart, Wang Ying's blessing, bloodthirsty tyrant, Ni Bingyan's blessing, heart of peace and joy, luck aura, faith aura, longevity. Completed Fei Wen's wish. Mission completion rate, 100%. Obtained 10 point cards, 8 attribute points, and 30% of the soul power donated by the soul power user. The soul power was relatively low, so this mission probably wasn't that difficult to begin with. Ning Shu felt that this attribute panel probably couldn't record her true strength anymore. Her current spiritual power was much stronger than what was shown on the attribute panel. In her mind space, any random star's spiritual power was stronger than what was shown on the attribute panel. Ning Shu looked at these auras. There was no point in hanging them here. Should he give them to Danqing? However, Ning Shu wouldn't give them to her voluntarily. If she needed them, she would have to ask Danqing. If she took the initiative to give them to her, it would make her things seem too cheap. What was she after by taking the initiative to give them to her? Besides, she didn't want anything from Danqing, so why would she give them to Danqing? If Danqing wanted them, she had to ask. Fation, who was growing mushrooms in the corner of Ning Shu's mind, said, "We're going out to play. Are you coming?" Fation immediately said, "Yes." But he seemed to realize that he was angry and shouldn't have answered so quickly. He snorted and turned his head to face the wall. Ning Shu didn't mind. He said to Little Mouse, "Let's go." Seeing that Ning Shu really didn't seem to want to take him, Fation was a little confused. He ran over and grabbed Ning Shu's hand. "I want to go." Ning Shu said, "You have to be honest. Otherwise, you won't be my little cutie anymore." Fation. The three of them came to the City Lord's mansion of Fire City. When they passed through, they were caught off guard and drank a big mouthful of water. The entire City Lord's mansion was submerged in water. If it weren't for the barrier, the water would have spread throughout Fire City. Because of the barrier, all the water accumulated to support the City Lord's mansion. Now, the roof of the City Lord's mansion was submerged. Ning Shu and Little Mouse were very happy. This meant that the iceberg had melted. Ning Shu directly sucked the water dry. He had the water law in his hands. How could he not handle the water? After cleaning the water, the entire city lord's mansion was soaked in water. When Awan came back, he had to tell her that the city lord's mansion was in such a state. The peerless martial art that had been defrosted floated in the air. Ning Shu reached out and grabbed it. Hurry, hurry. Little Mouse couldn't wait anymore. He couldn't wait to eat the energy body. Ever since his race was exterminated, he hadn't eaten energy bodies for a long time. Ning Shu brought Fodder and Little Mouse into the peerless martial art. Inside the peerless martial art, there was nothing at all. The iceberg had melted. The energy body should still be inside. Now they had to pick up the energy body. In the lifeless peerless martial art, the 2 men and 1 mouse searched everywhere. Ning Shu even released his mental strength. But mental strength was useless in the peerless martial art. They had no choice but to search as they walked. This space was really too barren. There was no land, no mountains or rivers. He remembered that there was soil in the past. But after the destruction of the law of nothingness, it returned to the time before liberation. It was a dead space. What a pity for such a world of faith. It was stifling. But after walking for a while, they didn't see any energy body. Ning Shu and Little Mouse looked at each other. They clearly saw that the iceberg was embedded with colorful energy bodies. Why didn't they see any energy body after walking for so long? What was going on? Chapter 3667. The water had probably washed away the energy bodies, so Ning Shu and Little Mouse had to keep looking. After a while, they finally found an energy body that was not small. It was about the size of a football and was emerald green. In this gray world, it was especially dazzling. Little Mouse rushed towards the energy body like a wild horse. Then, it lay on the energy body and took a bite. Ning Shu hurriedly put the energy body away and said, "We'll eat it later. Let's collect all the energy bodies here first." Little Mouse was not satisfied. "Can't we eat one first?" Ning Shu shook his head. "No, I'm afraid you forgot that half of the energy bodies here have to be handed over." Little Mouse was helpless. It could only chew the energy body in its mouth. It could not bear to swallow it and kept it in its mouth like candy. It chewed it over and over again. Ning Shu was disgusted by the sight. With a good start, they continued to pick up energy bodies. However, these energy bodies were not very big. Ning Shu also wanted a very large energy body. Such an energy body was equivalent to many others. They found a black energy body. This energy body was sharp enough as a weapon. Ning Shu gave a little to Fodder. Fodder needed to absorb this energy. Little Mouse stared at Ning Shu with its eyes wide open. He's a child," Ning Shu said without changing his expression. "Little Mouse, I'm a child too." "Ning Shu, you're not my child." Little Mouse was furious. It saw Fodder grabbing the energy body and licking it. Fortunately, the energy body was only the size of a thumb. Little Mouse was not that angry. This woman was really despicable. Ning Shu carried the sack and picked up the energy bodies along the way. He had collected enough energy bodies to fill the sack. But he could not find any more. The space was only so big. After walking back and forth, he could not find any more energy bodies. Ning Shu, just a bag of energy? They even had to hand over half of it. They had been through so much trouble, and this was all they got? Ning Shu looked at the Little Mouse suspiciously. "Did you secretly come here before? Such a huge iceberg only had such a small amount of energy?" Little Mouse immediately jumped up. "I thought you were hiding it." "What's there to hide? I'm going to do a fucking mission. Who has the time to hide things here?" Little Mouse rolled his eyes. "Who knows if you're here to do a mission or to steal something? Anyway, I didn't come here. When you were away, Fionn kept pestering me. Fodder can testify to that." Little Mouse tried his best to prove his innocence. Fodder, who was licking the energy body, nodded. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn it. With such a small amount of energy, he still had to hand over half of it. Would Sang Liang believe that he would hand over half a bag of energy? Anyway, she wouldn't believe it. Would the elegant Sang Liang spit at her if she had to hand over half a bag of energy? And he still had to give some of the remaining half to Little Mouse. After all, they had relied on Little Mouse this time. Ning Shu was speechless. What the fuck? After looking forward to it for so long, this was all they got. It was true that the greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. Little Mouse was unwilling to give up. Why don't we look again? Although they had already searched a few times, they were still unwilling to give up. Ning Shu nodded. Then let's look again. After searching a few times, the result was still the same. No, it was different. They found another energy body the size of a fingernail. Little Mouse picked it up, threw it into its mouth, and smacked its lips. It was gone before it could taste anything. Ning Shu felt that they were really pitiful now. Dragging the bag back to the system space, Ning Shu sighed. He chose the green energy body that Little Mouse ate and left some black energy body for Fa Tian. The remaining half had to be handed over. Ning Shu felt that it was not enough to hand over such a small thing. Are these all mine? Little Mouse looked at the green energy body and said happily. Ning Shu nodded. You can have it, sigh. Ning Shu kept a set of rainbow-colored energy bodies that she had collected. She couldn't use these things, so she kept them as a collection. There was also a black energy body for Fa Tian, and the rest would be handed over to the organization. Speaking of which, after being busy for a while, she was the one who had nothing. She couldn't use these things, so why was she looking for these things? For the Sea of Law? To be honest, with the Sea of Law, Ning Shu didn't have the confidence to rely on energy bodies to support it. Ning Shu put the black energy body in Fa Tian's meson space and said, take it if you want to eat it. Don't get cheated. Okay, Fa Tian said obediently. A man and a mouse sat on the sofa and ate the energy body noisily. Ning Shu carried half a bag of energy bodies to the consultation room and waited for the silver-haired man to come out. The silver-haired man came out of the room and glanced at the sack. Melted. Ning Shu put the bag on the table. This is half of the energy body. The silver-haired man glanced at the sack. That's all. Ning Shu. I knew it. She was just short of cursing and swearing. That's all. The silver-haired man frowned and looked at Ning Shu silently. He didn't spit on Ning Shu's face. But Ning Shu's heart was still heavy. What the fuck? What was going on? Ning Shu suspected that she had been tricked again. Was there only so much energy body in this iceberg? Could it be that the silver-haired man wanted all the energy body? She couldn't get anything then. What a sinister man. Ning Shu fell into a conspiracy theory and said shamelessly, that's all I have. If you don't believe me, you can ask Mouse. If not, you can ask Fa Tian. That child is young and can't lie. In all honesty, she really wanted to go against her conscience and leave a little more. But it was just a little. If she left a little more, the amount she handed in would be even more unsightly. The silver-haired man said, pour it out. Ning Shu carried the sack and poured out the energy body. The energy body fell on the table with a clatter. The silver-haired man put away the energy body and said, logically speaking, such a big iceberg shouldn't be so small. Ning Shu agreed. Yes, but that's the truth. If I lie, I'll be struck by lightning. The silver-haired man said, find the incarnation of the law of time and turn back time to see what happened. Obviously, the silver-haired man didn't believe Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. Got it. Turning back time could replay what had happened, but it couldn't change it. It was like watching a surveillance video. It couldn't change what had happened. She was unwilling to give up. She only got so little in exchange for the cold. After leaving the consultation room, Ning Shu went to find the man in the Cheongsam. Turning back time was a good thing. She had to quickly comprehend the law of time. Especially looking back at what had happened, it was too convenient to find out the truth. Chapter 3668. Ning Shu looked for the Cheongsam man and saw him talking to a girl again. She didn't know what they were talking about, but both of them had smiles on their faces. The Cheongsam man was too greasy, so when Ning Shu saw him talking to a girl, she felt that he was flirting again. In the past, the Cheongsam man used to flirt with her a lot, but now he was much more honest. He talked to her directly and didn't flirt with her. Ning Shu felt that the Cheongsam man was flirting with people of average strength or similar strength. If the other party was stronger, he would be more honest. He probably felt that the other party was weaker than him. Even if he flirted with her and wanted to do something, the Cheongsam man wasn't afraid. Ning Shu, are you worthy of your girlfriend who died for you? Do you still remember your girlfriend at Daming Lake? When the Cheongsam man saw that Ning Shu was here, he told the girl. The girl nodded and left, looking a little reluctant. When she brushed past Ning Shu, she was still sizing up Ning Shu. She was probably sizing up her potential love rival. Ning Shu mentioned a love rival for no reason. Ning Shu sat opposite the Cheongsam man and poured a cup of tea. He asked, "New girlfriend?" The Cheongsam man shook his head. "No, she asked me for help." Ning Shu almost rolled his eyes. He didn't want to leave until he saw the girl at the door. The Cheongsam man looked at the girl at the door. "She asked me for help, but it's a little dramatic." "Ning Shu, are you sure you didn't flirt with others? Some people can't resist flirting. If you don't like me, why did you flirt with me? You're too full. Or did you want to show off your charm? Seeing other people blushing and being shy gave you a sense of accomplishment." Ning Shu felt that the Cheongsam man was like a peacock. He wanted to spread his tail at any time. The Cheongsam man shook his head. "You've really wronged me. Why would I flirt with a girl? I only want to flirt with the person I want to flirt with." Ning Shu rolled his eyes and said, "I want to borrow your law. I want to see the scene replay." The man in the Cheongsam said, "It's a little difficult." Ning Shu looked at him. The man in the Cheongsam could only say, "All right, I'll do it even if it takes a lot of effort." "Ning Shu, what a little cutie. Next time, I'll take you on a day trip in the void." The Cheongsam man. "Thank you." Ning Shu took out the peerless martial art and brought the Cheongsam man into the peerless martial art. He said, "Help me retrace the process of the iceberg melting." He really couldn't understand why there was so little energy. The Cheongsam man nodded. "All right." Not long after, Ning Shu felt the scene in front of him change. A huge iceberg appeared in front of him, surrounded by cold air. Then, the iceberg slowly changed and began to melt. It was like watching a fast-forwarded video. As the iceberg melted, water filled the entire space, turning it into a vast ocean. Then, the water was slowly drained away. There was nothing out of the ordinary. The water had been drained clean, and the energy body in the iceberg was also exposed. That's all? Was there really only this much? Ning Shu was speechless. She had thought that the peerless martial art had absorbed it. It seemed that she had overestimated the peerless martial art. Being absorbed by the peerless martial art was better than just this little bit. Ning Shu said, "Thank you. That's all." The Cheongsam man asked, "What exactly do you want to see?" Anyway, the Cheongsam man only saw a large lump of ice melting. Ning Shu was a little disappointed. "I didn't see what I wanted to see. Sai, let's go eat." He was a little autistic. After exiting the peerless martial art, Ning Shu drank several cups of tea and asked the Cheongsam man, "You wander around like this every day. You don't do missions, but you still comprehend the laws?" The Cheongsam man was living a Buddhist life. Look at Awan. Awan was going to become the person in charge of a district in the future, but the Cheongsam man was still holding on to the laws of time. "Little brother, what's wrong with you? You can't be like this." With the sea of laws, who knew how long it could protect mission enforcers like them? If the sea of laws was gone, the plane would no longer exist. The mission enforcers in Zhejiang would have no value. Even if the Grand Elder could survive, he wouldn't care about the mission enforcers anymore. What could they do at this time? Of course, they could only rely on themselves. They had to compete with the creatures in the void for a place to live. The Cheongsam man did not know this, but he had also been to the Sea of Laws. Did he not feel anything when he saw the Sea of Laws like that? The Cheongsam man said, "I just came back from a mission. Why are you so worried about me?" The Cheongsam man's expression was meaningful. Ning Shu snorted. "What?" The Cheongsam man probably thought that she had some thoughts about him. Actually, she just saw that the Cheongsam man was so Buddhist and could not help but say that. As for whether the Cheongsam man listened or not, it was none of her business. Not wanting to talk nonsense with the Cheongsam man, Ning Shu returned to the system space with disappointment and said to the little mouse, "There's really only this little energy body in this iceberg." Little Rat gnawed on the energy body and held it in his mouth. He was stunned. Really? The little mouse looked a little stupid. Ning Shu felt pity for it. Really, we've been busy for so long, and this is the only thing we've got. The little mouse sighed. The chat system rang. She opened the system and saw that it was from the silver-haired man. He said that there was a new mission and then sent the location of a space node. Ning Shu nodded. What mission was it if it was not to deal with the Star Stone? Ning Shu told the silver-haired man that she had gone back in time and watched from the beginning to the end. There was nothing unusual. The silver-haired man asked, "Did anything happen during the period when the iceberg melted?" Ning Shu said, "No problem at all." Even if there was a problem, she could not interfere. The silver-haired man did not say anything and just asked her to do the mission. Ning Shu said to Vran, "I have something to do. I have to go out for a while." "Go to work." Ephition asked with a lisp, "Are you leaving again?" "Yes, I have to go to work. You play at home with Housie. When I'm free, I'll take you out to play." Probably because there were snacks, Ephition did not pester Ning Shu so much. He nodded obediently. Ning Shu turned around and said to the little mouse, "Watch him carefully." The little mouse was speechless. Women really had double standards. She showed a straight face to Ephition, but when she turned around, she pulled a long face to him. The little mouse was not happy, but it still said, "I know." Ning Shu then went to work. The little mouse's body was really strong. If there was any danger, it could directly wrap people inside and prevent a lot of harm. Previously in the world of ice and snow, he relied on the little mouse to wrap himself. Next time, he would take the little mouse to travel in the void. Ning Shu said to the little mouse, "I trust you the most." His expression was very sincere. The little mouse was speechless. "Hee, I don't believe you." Chapter 3669. Ning Shu came to the location of the spatial node and found that it was Grand Uncle waiting there. There was no one else. Only the Grand Elder stood there alone. Ning Shu was a little annoyed, especially annoyed by him. Ning Shu put on a fake smile, walked over and asked, "What's the mission this time?" "Sang Liang didn't tell you?" Grand Uncle said, "Go to a plane that's about to shatter." Ning Shu asked, "What for?" Grand Uncle said, "Collect all the useful resources." Ning Shu nodded. This was probably the consciousness of collecting inheritance. There were always resources in planes, such as metals, spirit stones, and the like. Some planes even had spirit chi, and this spirit chi could be retracted. These resources would disappear with the collapse of the plane, which was a bit wasteful. The organization probably had some special means to detect the aging of the plane and then send people in to search for resources. It was like a person who was about to die, but there were some organs in the body that could be used, so they didn't want to waste them. The spirit stones and even weapons in the system exchange shop must have a source of resources. These planes that were about to shatter were the source of resources. "Pretty good." Ning Shu said, "Just the two of us." Grand Uncle said, "Of course not. Some of them will go to other planes, some of them will do such missions, and some of them will come and wait." "Oh," Ning Shu replied. Since Grand Uncle didn't say anything, Ning Shu was too lazy to say anything. They would go to the plane that was about to shatter when the others came. In fact, a mission like this to collect materials was definitely faster than doing missions. After collecting the resources, they would leave, and the others would deal with the rest. In the past, she wasn't strong enough, so she could only do ordinary missions. She could do nursing missions, but there weren't many nursing missions. Ning Shu asked, "Is there a special mining team for mining resources like this?" Grand Uncle said, "Congratulations on joining the mining team." Ning Shu. So she had become a miner now? "Actually, I don't think I'm qualified for such a job." When she joined the organization, she would either be a miner or a nanny. Moreover, she didn't know what to mine and what to mine first. Ning Shu muttered in her heart. Suddenly, the senior Grand Elder's body shook twice, and then he fell straight toward her. Ning Shu's reaction was very fast. He dodged and watched the Grand Elder lie down. Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he dodged quickly. Otherwise, it would have hit her. If she did, she would definitely try to blackmail her. Ning Shu looked at the senior uncle who was lying down. Should she help him? Forget it, she wouldn't help him. She couldn't help him up. It was too expensive. He carefully stretched out his leg and kicked the Grand Elder. He didn't move at all, as if he was dead. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu hurriedly looked around. Seeing that no one had seen him, he stretched out his hand and touched the Grand Elder's chest. Well, his heart wasn't beating. He placed his head on the Grand Elder's chest. Well, very good, it still wasn't beating. He touched the main artery on his neck. Oh, there was no movement. He was dead. Ning Shu had thought that the Grand Elder would die, but she didn't expect him to die so suddenly. Did he die suddenly? Now that there were only two people here, she and the Grand Elder, others would definitely think that she had attacked and killed him. Although she might not be as strong as the Grand Elder, she could sneak attack him. There was a grudge between them, and she seemed to be completely capable of committing a crime. If Sang Liang and the others knew about it, her strength wouldn't be enough to fight the entire organization. What should she do now? Destroy the corpse? Could the bone-dissolving water destroy the corpse? She had to hurry. The others would come over soon. Ning Shu sneered and was about to destroy the corpse. She was letting the Grand Elder rest in peace. 100 years later, there might still be people dancing on his grave. However, the Grand Elder's body was probably very powerful. It would be a pity to melt it like this. If Fa Tian absorbed the Grand Elder's power, his strength might increase by many levels. Ning Shu's eyes flickered as she looked at the Grand Elder's corpse. She was ready to do something. Ning Shu summoned Fa Tian to her side with her mind. He turned into a whip and appeared in Ning Shu's hand. Fa Tian's happy mood was transmitted to Ning Shu's mind. Ning Shu touched the dark Fa Tian, who was shining with cold light, and said, "I'll take you to eat something good." Ning Shu raised the whip and was about to whip the corpse. She whipped the Grand Elder's body. The Grand Elder's corpse was still as motionless as a mountain. It was probably cold. She was in the hands of the Grand Elder, and he wouldn't be soft-hearted. Similarly, the Grand Elder fell into her hands. Ning Shu wouldn't be soft-hearted either. Ning Shu raised the holy whip again, but she felt spatial fluctuations, which meant that someone was coming. Ning Shu immediately wrapped the deity-striking whip around her waist and put on a panicked expression. It was Sang Liang who appeared. Seeing the Grand Elder lying on the ground, he frowned and looked very depressed. Ning Shu immediately waved her hand to defend herself. "It's not me. I didn't do it. It's not my fault." He suddenly fell down. Sang Liang looked at the Grand Elder with an ugly expression. Ning Shu asked, "Is the Grand Elder okay?" Sang Liang ignored Ning Shu. Instead, he helped the senior grand uncle up and carried him in his arms. He was about to leave. Before leaving, he said to Ning Shu, "You continue to do the mission." Ning Shu smiled. "Okay." In fact, her heart was clouded. Judging from Sang Liang's appearance, the Grand Elder didn't die. If the Grand Elder didn't die, she would be in trouble. She didn't know if anyone saw her whipping the corpse. Did the Grand Elder feel it? If he could feel it himself, it would be a little sad. Immediately, Ning Shu touched the holy whip and asked in a low voice, "Fa Tian, did you absorb any power?" The holy whip was an innate treasure in the void. It could cause great damage and absorb the power of the person who was attacked by the holy whip. She whipped the Grand Elder, so the holy whip should have absorbed some power. The whip turned into a human shape and said, "I absorbed some, but not much." "Ning Shu, why did you absorb his energy?" Fa Tian asked. Ning Shu looked worried. "He's dead. Maybe he's dead. I'm trying to wake him up. As for absorbing energy, there's no such thing. As long as she absorbed the energy, it would be fine. If the Grand Elder really came back to life and asked, she would deny it. If she said she didn't do it, then she didn't do it. Fa Tian nodded. Holding Ning Shu's hand, she asked, "Can I follow you now?" While they were talking, some people came over. Obviously, they were doing the mission together. Ning Shu said apologetically, "I have to work with these uncles. You can go back first." Fa Tian said, "Okay." Probably because she didn't want to meet these people, Fa Tian quickly left. Ning Shu felt that Fa Tian had a sense of superiority as an innate treasure. "I don't like to talk to ordinary people." It was probably taught by the little mouse. Chapter 3670. Fa Tian left, but the big shots who came to do the mission were still staring at Fa Tian's back. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. How envious were they of Ifidun? Ning Shu coughed and said, "Let's enter the plane." The main system gave the location of the space node of the plane that was about to shatter. The others nodded. Ning Shu said with a smile, "I just came here, so I don't know much. For example, how do those resources have to be collected?" Usually, mineral deposits are collected. Some planes have special mineral deposits or metals, not to mention mineral deposits that contain energy like spirit stones. To put it bluntly, their mission was to accumulate wealth, but it wasn't paper-like money. Those symbols and paper-like money were useless. What was useful was the metals derived from the plane, special minerals, or the spiritual energy of the plane. Of course, after entering the plane, they had to transfer the creatures inside away. As for transferring them to the world built by the big shots, that needed to be discussed. In other words, the people present were all big shots who built worlds, and the lowest level had to be big shots who built living worlds. Ning Shu? But she didn't have a living space. Did they want her to store souls? She would see. Ning Shu followed a group of people into a plane. The surface of this plane was already full of cracks, and it looked like it would explode at any time. There were already troops stationed around, keeping an eye on the situation of the plane. The situation in the plane wasn't very good. All kinds of natural and man-made disasters were spreading. The aging plane was no longer able to correct the abnormal situation in its body. It could only rot all the way and finally collapse. The air was abnormally dirty. In such an environment, living creatures couldn't survive. The people who came to do the mission turned a blind eye to this situation. Their main purpose was to collect the usable resources of this plane. "Everyone, let's split up. When you find a mineral deposit or resource, mark it and then mine it." Ning Shu asked, "Do we also have to dig for minerals like gold, silver, copper, and iron?" This kind of thing wasn't considered important to the void at all. It has to be mined. As long as it's a mineral deposit, it has to be mined. Gold, silver, copper, and iron are common metals, but through compression and special forging methods, they can be made into powerful weapons, someone said. Ning Shu made an "oh" sound and understood. In any case, it was something that was naturally born in the plane. It had to be excavated. Ning Shu asked, "What about coal, oil, jade, and diamonds?" Big shot, dig. Ning Shu separated from the others and traveled through the filthy plane. He released a huge amount of spiritual power and scanned inch by inch. He was able to scan the mountains and rivers to see if there were any hidden mines. However, this plane seemed to have been overdeveloped, and there weren't many resources left. Most of them had already been consumed. Ning Shu still managed to find a coal mine in a rather remote place. "So you want to dig for coal?" It was pitch black. It was too scary. Ning Shu took out a super large space ring and used his psychic power to cut off the mountain. Then he threw the entire mountain into the mess in space. It was difficult to dig piece by piece like this. She might not even finish digging when the plane collapsed. As for those buried deep underground, Ning Shu stretched out countless vines and directly pierced into the soil, rolling out large pieces of coal. The heavenly Tao of this world had already collapsed. Any kind of power could be used. It couldn't suppress external power anymore. It was only a matter of time before it collapsed. Even though Ning Shu didn't come into contact with the coal, the dust floating in the air still covered Ning Shu's face with a layer of black ash. He used the water rule to take a shower. After settling one place, he continued to look for the next mine. However, there weren't many mines in this world. Ning Shu found 2. However, in an abandoned factory, he got a lot of iron and some rare reflective metals. Ning Shu felt that he should go to some jewelry stores. He would definitely be able to rob a lot of diamonds, gold, and silver. However, their mission time was limited. They only needed to get the mines. However, when they encountered a large amount of metal, even if it had been processed, they could still collect it. Not long after, his teammates informed Ning Shu that they could gather. The resources were almost all collected. The next step was to move the living beings of this world away. However, generally speaking, in a plane that was about to collapse, there weren't many living beings left in the harsh environment. Ning Shu gathered with the rest of the team. A big boss came out of his own world. His world was a little special. It was a handful of quicksand. The sand wouldn't scatter and would always gather together and flow. A powerful suction force directly sucked the living beings of this world into the quicksand world. The big boss who took in these living beings didn't look happy. Even though he had 20 million merit points, he still wasn't happy. Ning Shu could understand his unhappiness. It was probably because he was lucky enough to build the world and wanted to take in these living beings, especially the humans. They destroyed this world and wanted to build his world. His heart was bleeding. After one world was settled, they went to the next world. In this way, they would only stay in a world for a few days. Who knew how many worlds they had created? Ning Shu's heart was a little heavy. How many planes were about to collapse? He felt it when he was dealing with the star stones. When dealing with the star stones, that was a plane that had already collapsed. There were so many planes that were about to collapse. One after another, everyone used their own living worlds to store the living beings in them. Only Ning Shu didn't store any living beings. Everyone else looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu, I don't have a world of living beings. I'll store souls. If the heavenly Tao of a plane collapsed badly, even the passage to the world of reincarnation would collapse. The soul would wander in the plane. Even if it wasn't destroyed, it would be much weaker. However, there would still be a living soul. Hearing that Ning Shu had a world of reincarnation, these people couldn't say anything. Instead, their attitude towards Ning Shu was a little better. They didn't care that Ning Shu didn't store any living beings. Without a world of living beings, there was no point in being calculative. Ning Shu didn't have the experience of going to so many planes in such a short period of time. However, all the worlds he saw were dying. They were all gray and there wasn't much life. After seeing too many of them, his mood became bad. After settling all the planes with the space nodes given by the system, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Then, they took out their mess in space and counted their gains to make a record. After handing in these resources, the organization would give them some rewards. These people were all veterans in completing missions. They found more resources than Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't mind. He would take it slow. Practice makes perfect. He felt that there was a need to learn more about geology. Chapter 3671. Sang Liang poured a cup of green juice into the Grand Uncle's mouth and flipped through a book, waiting for the Grand Uncle to wake up. After a long time, the Grand Elder opened his eyes and sat up. His brows were furrowed, and there was a deep furrow between his eyebrows. Sang Liang put down the book and said, "I said you shouldn't have done that." The Grand Uncle said indifferently, "It's fine. It just suddenly became restless and wanted to fight for the body, but I suppressed it." Sang Liang didn't speak, but his expression was solemn as he handed the water to the Grand Uncle. The Grand Uncle raised his head and drank the water in one gulp. "I'm fine. I'm leaving." Sang Liang said, "Take a break. It's completely suppressed." "It's already been suppressed." The Grand Uncle left. Ning Shu returned to the system space and was given some soul power as a reward. It was similar to the soul power of a mission. However, this kind of mission didn't have any technical content. It was to use mental power to find mineral veins. If they encountered any rare mineral veins, they could keep some for themselves. It was very nice. Ning Shu absorbed the soul power and began to teach Fa Tian. He taught Fa Tian how to read and write. The little mouse stayed far away, too lazy to listen to the two of them. Fa Tian was quite serious when he started learning, but after a long time, his ADHD acted up and he began to wander off. Ning Shu stopped. It was useless to teach at this time. He might as well go out and play. Ning Shu said to the little mouse, "Let's go to the void." The little mouse looked at Ning Shu. "Didn't we just go there? Didn't we just get energy bodies?" Ning Shu said, "But didn't you finish eating? Won't you eat in the future?" The little mouse said, "Wait until I'm hungry." After eating, he just wanted to lie down and not move. The human sofa was really comfortable. He didn't want to get up. Ning Shu said, "We're not going to find energy bodies. Let's find something else." The things in the void were very delicious. It wasn't bad to get something delicious. If energy bodies were so easy to find, they wouldn't be called energy bodies. They didn't need energy bodies. Little mouse. I haven't digested the energy yet. Let's talk about it later. Ning Shu lowered his head and saw Fa Tian looking at him expectantly. He really did want to bring Fa Tian out for a walk. It was not good to lock him up in the system space all the time. After studying for so long, he should relax a little. Ning Shu said, "We won't go far. We'll take Fa Tian out to play." Little mouse looked at Fa Tian and nodded helplessly. "All right." And so, Ning Shu took Fa Tian for a stroll through the void, but they didn't go very far. The variety of species in the void was an eye-opener. The little mouse, who was in the void, introduced Fa Tian to the characteristics of various species, just like the host. Fa Tian listened with great interest. Dan Qing's voice rang out. "Did he inform you to go and deal with the star rocks?" Ning Shu nodded and said to Fan, "Let's go back. I have to work again." Fading Heaven let out a long, "Oh." His disappointment was obvious. "It can't be helped. Great people are always very busy," Ning Shu said helplessly. Little mouse clicked his tongue. To be able to act like a slave for someone else, he had to comfort himself to a certain extent. Tian still obeyed and wanted to go back. Ning Shu said, "You don't have to go back. Let little mouse take you around. Just don't go too far." If she really encountered any danger, she could summon Fa Tian back to her side with a thought. "Little mouse, I won't take care of him. Don't expect me to take care of him." Ning Shu went to the place where the plane was broken and explained to the person who dealt with the star rocks. Ning Shu stared at Grand Uncle with wide eyes. Fuck, he came back to life and was still dealing with the star rocks. She must have been dreaming. He didn't die. Ning Shu's heart was in turmoil, but his face was very calm. He walked over and changed shifts with Grand Uncle. Grand Uncle saw Ning Shu and asked, "What did you do while I was unconscious?" Ning Shu said, "You didn't even have any vital signs. I thought you were dead and cried so hard." Grand Uncle was expressionless. Time reversal. Ning Shu. "I used the whip to wake you up. I don't think ordinary methods can wake you up. After all, you are so powerful." Grand Uncle was still expressionless, but there was a murderous look between his eyebrows. Ning Shu didn't expect him to believe his words. Besides, Ning Shu knew that Grand Uncle wouldn't believe him. It didn't matter. He didn't care whether Grand Uncle believed him or not. Ning Shu sneered. "So what if I whip you? Next time you die in front of me, I'll whip you again." Grand Uncle raised his eyebrows. Obviously, he didn't expect Ning Shu to say that. Ning Shu still said, "Then how do you want me to deal with your body? Do you want to be buried or cremated? Then, I'll ask a group of enlightened monks to recite sutras for you for 49 days. I'll be so touched that I'll carry your portrait with me. I'll take out your portrait and reminisce about it. After crying for a while, I'll feel full of strength and continue to move forward. Only then can I show my humanity and reflect my passion and kindness." Ning Shu, aren't you dead? Why are you so pretentious? Why are you questioning me when you're angry? Back then, she cried so hard that she was about to die. She only asked for the truth and was called petty. What about now? Aren't you going to die? Why are you so pretentious? If she was lying there at that time, all her resources would have been accepted, including Fation. All her resources, including the last trace of her soul power, would have been accepted. But would anyone feel anything about her death? No. If she knelt down, the grand uncle would carry her portrait with him and take it out to cry every now and then. What the hell? When grand uncle killed mission enforcers, didn't he take away their soul power and recycle the resources? Huh? Oh, it was her turn to question him? How come grand uncle could do it, but others couldn't? She didn't regret slapping grand uncle at all. She only regretted not slapping him more. Her face was slapped like a honeycomb. If she had known, she would have slapped him too. The scourge lived for 1,000 years and really didn't die. Next time, no matter whether grand uncle was dead or not, as long as he was lying in front of her, she would still slap him. She could take revenge as she wished. Ning Shu said directly, "Go away. Do you want to change shifts or not? If not, I'm leaving." Grand uncle moved aside expressionlessly. Ning Shu sneered with a cold face, picked up the props and began to process the star stone. Grand uncle stood next to him. Ning Shu asked, "Is there anything else? You're standing here and affecting my processing of the star stone. If there's nothing else, get lost." Grand uncle, "You're very self-righteous." Ning Shu asked back, "Otherwise? If you can be self-righteous, why can't I be self-righteous? If you have the ability, kill me. Come and kill me. If you don't kill him, don't talk nonsense. Who doesn't know how to talk loudly? /BK. Chapter 3672. Senior uncle laughed angrily. Huh? You didn't do anything wrong? Ning Shu spread out his hands, looking puzzled. What did I do wrong? That's not how you deal with a dead person. I dealt with your body completely according to your style of doing things. Besides, if I didn't hurry up, what if others snatched your body from me? Wasn't it resource recovery? Other people's bodies, including their soul power, were resources, but senior uncle's body wasn't resources. His arms and legs were all energy. Even if she died, she was ready for the resources to be taken over. Why couldn't senior uncle do the same? She just let Fation absorb senior uncle's energy. So what? What's done is done. Receiving resources from a dead person. Ghosts made you fall in front of me. Senior uncle was expressionless. Ning Shu said again, "Of course, I'm also wrong. I didn't make sure you weren't completely dead. Who knew if you weren't completely dead? If you weren't completely dead, why didn't you say something?" Ning Shu suddenly realized and said, "Oh, I understand. You're not blaming me for not protecting your body well, for not being sad, and for not being soft-hearted enough to hold your body and cry, right? You're still hard-hearted enough to whip your body unkindly? I just want to deal with your body quickly. Do you want your body to attract the creatures in the void and then eat you? What was wrong with him? Did he want others to worship his body like a god? Why do I have to be nice to you? Who the fuck said I have to treat you well? Did she ask senior uncle to treat her well? On the other hand, did senior uncle have a reason to ask her to treat him well? Was senior uncle going to morally kidnap her now? So what if you're dead? You're dead? You're the biggest? I'll just whip your body. Who cares what you feel in your heart? It has nothing to do with you. I'll hold your body and cry and laugh. Once you're dead, you'll be lying on the ground like a pile of shiny gold coins. It's like you've dropped a piece of equipment." Ning Shu smiled. "So, what are you being unreasonable about?" Ning Shu raised his head and puffed out his chest in a domineering manner. He looked at the senior uncle and asked, "What did I do wrong? Using your own methods to deal with your own body, what's wrong with you? If you're wrong, then it proves that you admit that you're wrong. If it were anyone else, it would depend on whether they had the guts to absorb the energy. If they had the guts, they would do the same thing as her. If it were any other living being in the void, they would have just gnawed on it. If that's not wrong, then I'll deal with it in a way that's not wrong. What do you mean by questioning whether it's right or wrong at this time?" The blue veins on the Grand Elder's forehead throbbed as he coldly looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at him with the same cold gaze. The surrounding atmosphere was a little stagnant, as if there was an invisible ice spreading, causing the surrounding air pressure to be very low. The big shots around them all frowned, afraid that the two of them would start fighting. What were they doing dealing with a broken plane? Ning Shu suddenly laughed. He covered his mouth, but his eyes were cold. He apologized. Sorry, I didn't confirm that you were completely dead. This is my fault. I'm sorry. If she were in his shoes, she would have collapsed. Her current soul power had probably entered the body of another mission enforcer, or it could be used for other purposes. After all, soul power was very mysterious and very powerful, whether it was used to activate arrays or other purposes. Otherwise, there would always be some evil techniques that used sacrificial methods, such as killing people or livestock, to obtain soul power. She calmly accepted that after death, all the value in her body would be squeezed dry. Ning Shu said, I'm sorry to have offended you. Ning Shu's expression was cold, and he didn't seem to be sincere in apologizing. The senior uncle frowned tightly. Black lines suddenly crawled up his neck and spread all the way to his face. Ning Shu saw this situation and his pupils shrank. He took 2 steps back, his body tense. She didn't forget that the senior uncle had these kinds of lines crawling up his body, and then he broke the ice mountain with a sword. Ning Shu called Fation in her heart. Fation was strolling behind the little mouse, step by step like claws and teeth. Hearing Ning Shu's call, a smile appeared on his face. He directly changed into a ray of light and flew in Ning Shu's direction. The little mouse in front didn't notice anything. It was still talking to Fation behind it, but it didn't get a response from Fation. It looked back and saw that there was no one behind it. The little mouse was so scared that its hair stood on end. Where was she? Could it be that she was taken away by the creatures in the void? It was over. That woman definitely wanted its life. The little mouse was so anxious that it was about to cry. Ning Shu held the holy whip and put her hands behind her back. The holy whip scratched Ning Shu's back with the tail of the whip. There were more and more black lines on the senior uncle's face, almost covering his whole face. He clenched his teeth tightly and held his face with one hand. Red light flashed in his eyes. It was as if he was possessed. Ning Shu was vigilant and held Fation tightly. Fation was still scratching Ning Shu's back with the tail of the whip. The senior uncle flashed away. Ning Shu, oh my God, I was scared to death. She wasn't sure that she could beat the tattooed senior uncle. Normally, she could run away. The tattooed senior uncle was a bit mysterious. Fation turned into a human baby. He held Ning Shu's hand and looked up at her. Ning Shu exhaled and said, It's okay. Fation looked at Ning Shu and said, I'll accompany you. Ning Shu thought for a moment. She couldn't guarantee that the senior uncle wouldn't come back, so she left Fation with her. Ning Shu squatted down and began to process the star stone. Fation watched from the side. She took out a toy from the mess in space and played with it. The little mouse was frantic and looked for Fation everywhere in the void. When Ning Shu finished processing the star stone and took Fation back, the little mouse was lying on the sofa helplessly. Seeing Fation, it jumped up. Where did you go? I looked for you everywhere. Fation said, Ning Shu summoned me. The little mouse was about to cry. Then why didn't you tell me? I looked everywhere and couldn't find you. I was so anxious. The little mouse asked Ning Shu, Then why didn't you tell me and let me look everywhere? Ning Shu apologized. Sorry, I didn't remember. The little mouse cried. You're bullying me. Fation stroked the little mouse. Don't cry. Go away, I won't take you out anymore. Go away. The little mouse turned its head and left the system space. Fation said to Ning Shu, I'm sorry. Ning Shu shook his head. It's my fault. Next time, tell him where you want to go. You can go find it. Fation nodded and turned into a light, chasing after the little mouse. When they came back, the little mouse lay on Fation's head and whined. Why did you bring me back? I didn't want to come back at all. Chapter 3673. Fation looked at the little mouse in confusion. That's not what you said at the time. Ning Shu just gave the little mouse a meaningful look. The little mouse turned to leave again. Ning Shu just said, Okay, stay here. The chat system rang. He opened it and saw that it was Ah Wan. Ah Wan, did you take it away? I came back and saw that it was gone. Ah Wan's tone was very anxious. Ning Shu said, I was just about to tell you. I took it away. Thank you. I'll treat you to a meal. Ah Wan, you can take it away. I thought it was lost. No need to treat me to a meal. I'll treat you to a meal when I'm free. Ning Shu taught her how to deal with star stones. In the future, she would control District D and get some resources because of Ning Shu. Okay, I'll let you know when I go to District D later, Ning Shu said to Ah Wan. It shouldn't be long before the main system would let her deal with District D's problems. When the time came, he would take Ah Wan with him. When Ah Wan learned how to deal with star stones, she wouldn't have to care about District D's matters. It felt like the organization seemed to have thrown District D's matters into her hands. Ning Shu began to learn all kinds of geological knowledge and where there might be mineral deposits. Although he could use spiritual power, what if he couldn't use it? The treatment in the organization was very detailed. Some special metals, spirit stones or space meson stones, things that contained energy, and even things in the void were introduced. Fa Tian pointed at the things on the paper and asked Ning Shu. With one question and one answer, the boring learning process became much more interesting. However, Ning Shu was a little worried now. When he thought of the black lines on the senior uncle's body, it was quite ominous. He didn't know how he would explode. Would he be able to fight against the senior uncle with the holy whip? It looked like that thing was out of control, but it couldn't be ruled out that it came out when the senior uncle was angry. Could the senior uncle himself control it? If he went berserk, it looked like she couldn't beat him. She treated the senior uncle like that. If the senior uncle wanted to find trouble with her, she was mentally prepared. Anyone who had been treated this way would bear a grudge. It would be abnormal if she didn't hold a grudge. She had to stay away from those who were clamoring for her to learn how to forgive. Those who tell you to be magnanimous and kind should stay away from them. If it didn't concern him, he would just let it go. However, the Grand Elder himself seemed to be in trouble. If things didn't work out, he could just leave the organization. It wasn't that big of a deal. The Sea of Law would collapse sooner or later, and he would have to leave sooner or later. It was just time. An organization that was on the verge of collapse. It was no big deal. Ning Shu was deep in thought when the chat system rang. Sure enough, it was asking her to go to Area D. Ning Shu closed the book and said to Fa Tian, I'm going to work again. Fa Tian was speechless. Ning Shu, I'll take you with me. The corners of Fa Tian's mouth rose crazily. Little Mouse waved her hand. Hurry up and take her away. Don't expect me to take care of your child again. Little Mouse was very tired. Ning Shu informed Ah Wan to go to Area D if she was free. She was going to Area D now. Ah Wan said she was free and would be there soon. Ning Shu took Fa Tian to Area D, and it didn't take long for Ah Wan to arrive. Ah Wan took out a few sets of clothes from her space and said, These are the clothes I made. They're for Fa Tian. Ning Shu saw that the cloth seemed to have a sheen. It was obviously good stuff. Ning Shu, you made them? Did you make them yourself? Ah Wan nodded. I made them when I was alive. Ning Shu and Fa Tian nodded. Fa Tian accepted them and said thank you. Then the two began to process the star stones. Ah Wan already knew how to process the star stones, but it was very slow and difficult. What Ah Wan needed to do now was to deepen her understanding of the rules. It was only after she became the Will of Death that it became much easier to process the star stones. Ning Shu said, Take it slow. Processing the star stones wasn't a good job. It hurt the soul. But for Ah Wan to become the person in charge of an area and receive resources, it was quite worth it. Ah Wan nodded. It's a bit difficult. I'll handle it more. Ning Shu, don't force yourself. Your soul power is weak now. Don't force yourself. Just master the technique. Ning Shu demonstrated to Ah Wan. Ah Wan studied very seriously, but the situation was a bit difficult. Fa Tian saw that Ning Shu and Ah Wan were having fun. He also picked up a tool and scraped the star stones off the broken bitwall. It was very easy. Actually, this was a simple job. What wasn't simple was that it required the support of the rules. Ah Wan saw this scene and was silent for a while. Ning Shu comforted Ah Wan. He's different. Don't compare yourself to him. After all, he's an innate treasure. His starting point is higher than ours. Some abilities are innate. We can't compare. Ah Wan sighed. She really didn't want to talk. Her mentality was a bit broken. She couldn't even compare to a child. Ning Shu said to Fa Tian, next time, come with me to process the star stones. I'll give you a salary too. Since merit could allow skeletons to cast golden bodies of merit and strengthen skeletons' ability to resist suppression, would merit be beneficial to Fa Tian? But Ning Shu didn't dare to give it to Fa Tian casually. What if there were side effects? He would spend some money to ask the person in the consultation room. Fa Tian didn't know what merit was, but when he heard that he could be with Ning Shu, his expression was very happy. Okay. Ah Wan, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it. She felt very hurt. The three of them processed the star stones very quickly. Fa Tian treated this process as a game. Ah Wan, who was the slowest, wanted to sigh. She had lived for so long, but she couldn't even compare to a child. She had lived so long in the stomach of a dog. After dealing with the matters in District D, Ah Wan's mood wasn't very good. Ning Shu said, there are differences between people. We're not born equal. Ah Wan nodded. I'm not going to be angry with a child. I'm just doubting whether I can process the star stones smoothly. Ning Shu asked in return, why not? It'll be fine slowly. You need to understand your rules more. The deeper your understanding of rules, the smoother it will be to process the star stones. Ah Wan nodded. She reached out to pinch Fa Tian's round face, but Fa Tian dodged. There was a look of displeasure on Geishan's face as he distanced himself from Ah Wan. Ah Wan smiled. You're still shy. Fa Tian looked at Ah Wan expressionlessly. He had probably forgotten that this auntie had given him something before. Fa Tian said, don't touch my face. Fa Tian's expression was very serious, making Ah Wan feel a little pressured. She apologized. I'm sorry. Fa Tian didn't say anything. Ning Shu said, this child has been like this ever since he transformed. Ah Wan didn't care. She wouldn't argue with a child. Even if she knew that he was a weapon in human form, a child was still a child. Ning Shu brought Fa Tian to the consultation room to ask some questions. Chapter 3674. Ning Shu and Fa Tian waited in the consultation room, but the silver-haired man didn't appear. Ning Shu touched Tian's head and said, wait a little longer. This was the first time he had seen the silver-haired man neglect a guest like this. Ning Shu felt that it was probably because of the senior uncle. The senior uncle seemed to be in big trouble. Fa Tian didn't care how long he had to wait. Leaning against Ning Shu, he took out an energy body and licked it. Ning Shu touched his chin and looked at Hifayun. He felt that he should take Fa Tian into actual combat. But now the organization seemed to be calm and peaceful. There was no war to be fought. Ning Shu couldn't help but despise the little mouse. Little mouse? After waiting for a long time, the silver-haired man finally came out of the inner room. Holding a book, he sat down and asked, what do you want to consult? Ning Shu asked, can I give Fa Tian merit? The silver-haired man said, it's best not to. Choose a direction to develop. Speed, attack strength, or endurance. Ning Shu asked, can I develop it in a balanced way? The silver-haired man said, of course, but it depends on whether you have so many resources. When resources are scarce, choose a direction to focus on. Ning Shu said, then you can give him merit. The silver-haired man said, yes, it can increase the toughness of weapons. In that case, merit could be used. The silver-haired man glanced at Fa Tian. He's absorbing the energy body. This kind of thing can increase sharpness. Also, he has absorbed hostility and evil aura. It's not suitable for him to absorb merit. Conflict. Ning Shu touched Fa Tian's head. It seemed that merit should be given to skeletons. Ning Shu asked, how much? The silver-haired man said, 600,000 merit. Wow, it was a bit expensive this time. Why is it so expensive this time? It used to be 200,000 merit. The silver-haired man said, You asked several questions. Ning Shu, Ning Shu didn't say anything and took out 600,000. After all, 600,000 was enough to get some information. Since merit and Fation conflicted, there was no need to use merit to nurture Fation in the future. The silver-haired man watched as Ning Shu swiped his card. The silver-haired man said, Why are you trying to anger senior uncle? What's the point of this? If you have the time, do more things. Ning Shu, I know he will be angry. Why would he be? I thought he wouldn't be as petty as me. You can even do things that harm others without benefiting yourself so happily. Ning Shu, of course I'm happy. People will always do things that harm others without benefiting themselves, but I'm happy. The grand uncle's own troubles could be said to be caused by her anger. He wanted to accuse her again. If she really had that ability, she would have angered senior uncle to death. At first glance, it was obvious that there was something wrong with senior uncle's body. With the state of the Sea of Law, it would be strange if Tai Shu could recover. He couldn't bear such a big responsibility. The silver-haired man was silent for a moment. Well, as long as you're happy. Ning Shu, are you talking about the whipping of the corpse? I did it according to his way. The silver-haired man said, Different people do different things. What you did was wrong, and what he did was right. I understand. Ning Shu, oh. Senior uncle could do the same thing. Whipping the corpse didn't matter, but she couldn't. What she did was wrong. Laws and rules restrained the weak, and the strong made the rules. Right and wrong were decided by the strong. Ning Shu felt that he was being questioned by the silver-haired man because he didn't save the person immediately. He didn't look at the overall situation, but wanted to get energy from senior uncle. As for senior uncle getting energy from others, it was natural. It was for the overall situation, for the entire organization, for the Sea of Law, and for the billions of mission takers. No matter what he did, he was covered with a beautiful aura. He was great and selfless. She was much more selfish. Everything was for herself, mostly to an individual. She didn't know what was good for her and didn't look at the overall situation. Even if senior uncle wanted to kill her now, she should be obedient and let him kill her. She smiled and didn't have any complaints in her heart. It was the same thing, but it varied from person to person. There was a saying, if you're poor, you should take care of yourself. If you're rich, you should take care of the world. When she couldn't even control her own fate, how could she take care of the world? Who didn't understand this logic? But she wasn't a wooden puppet. She didn't feel anything and was treated casually. Senior uncle was treated like this and felt wronged. The silver-haired man also felt wronged for senior uncle. Couldn't others feel a little? What made the silver-haired man angry was probably that she didn't let go of that little bit of prejudice and resentment in her heart and didn't save senior uncle. That little bit of prejudice and resentment was really too insignificant. Ning Shu said lightly, Since senior uncle's health isn't good, just stay here. Don't go out for a stroll if you have nothing to do. Next time, if I fall somewhere else, I might be eaten up by something. The general direction of her relationship with the grand uncle was to cooperate whenever possible. However, if something were to happen, they could immediately turn hostile and become mortal enemies. If something happened to her, senior uncle would be merciless to kill her. But if senior uncle fell into her hands, she wouldn't be merciful either. When this matter was over, senior uncle would command her to do things without any psychological burden. The premise was that she was still alive. Ning Shu didn't have much fear of this organization now. The building was about to collapse. Jumping out of this limit to look at the problem, the things that she was afraid of in the past couldn't bother her now. The main thing was that she wasn't afraid of dying. She was full of confidence and arrogance. Working hard to be strong was to have more choices. She wasn't afraid of any challenges or anything that would happen in the future, because she had enough strength to face what was about to happen. She was doing what she should do, searching for energy bodies for the Sea of Law. Missions that needed to be completed would be completed, star stones that needed to be processed would be processed, and resources that needed to be collected would be collected. There was a war, but she didn't go and protect the plane? Just because she made a move on senior uncle, she didn't look at the big picture. She was petty. What was the point of letting such a precious person out? Lock her up. Ning Shu looked at the silver-haired man pitifully. You can't see what I'm doing. Your eyes are quite good at this time. The silver-haired man was speechless. The silver-haired man waved his hand and let Ning Shu go. He stood up, held the book, lifted the curtain, and entered the inner room. Fa Tian could feel that the conversation between the two wasn't very pleasant. The atmosphere wasn't good. Fa Tian wasn't in the mood to lick the energy body. He said to Ning Shu, "Don't be sad." Ning Shu said, "I'm not sad. There's no such thing." Fa Tian didn't believe it. The two of them were a little tit-for-tat before. He looked at Ning Shu's face with some suspicion. "You're not sad." Chapter 3675. Ning Shu. Why should I be sad? The one who was in trouble was Grand Uncle, not her. At most, she would help Grand Uncle regain his honor. Everyone would encounter trouble, and Grand Uncle was the same. She would help Grand Uncle regain his honor. As for Grand Uncle's problem, if he could not solve it himself, no one else could. It was a pity that she could not see Grand Uncle's current situation. He was probably covered in tattoos. Aristocrat shamate, love was sugar, so sweet that it was sad. Ning Shu was very curious about what those black patterns were. It seemed to have great power, but why was Grand Uncle suppressing it? Ning Shu held Fa Tian's hand and walked out of the consultation room. After thinking about it, he brought Fa Tian to the Sea of Law. He did not know if the energy bodies he found before were thrown into the Sea of Law. When he reached the Sea of Law, he saw Li Guo and the rest were still purifying Ning Shu. He suspected that Li Guo and the rest were enslaved and had to purify the Sea of Law for their entire lives. Tian covered his nose and said, "It smells a little." Ning Shu, "You can smell it?" She really could not smell it at all. She looked at the Sea of Law. It looked dirty and sticky, so it should have a stench, but she could not smell it. Most probably, all the living beings in the void could smell it. After all, Tian was a connate cardinal treasure. Ning Shu squatted down and extended his hand into the Sea of Law to sense it carefully. He even scooped up the seawater, but he could not as it slipped away from his fingertips. His hand was empty and dry. It was a sea, but it was not water. As the will of death, it was very sensitive to death. The Sea of Law had death aura and no life force. Ning Shu had never seen a normal Sea of Law and did not know what color it was. It might be black, but it might not be black. What should he do with this Sea of Law? Death was the fate of every living being. It was not even the final destination of a living being. As powerful as the Sea of Law and the plane, they could not escape death. I can do it. No, she couldn't. Her consciousness couldn't escape the fate of death. If this consciousness of hers disappeared and a new one was born, it wouldn't be her anymore. It would be a brand new individual. It was just like rebirth. The only difference was that she could rebirth infinitely. Grand Uncle was no longer standing guard beside the Sea of Law. His situation was probably quite serious. Li Guo finished the purification and returned to the shore. She breathed a sigh of relief and said to Ning Shu with a bad face, "Can you tell Grand Uncle that I'm going back?" Ning Shu said directly, "Go by yourself." She and the senior uncle were blushing now. They didn't want to talk to each other. If they wanted to ask, they could ask by themselves. Li Guo said impatiently, "I really want to leave." Ning Shu, "Then leave." Li Guo sighed. "If I leave, he'll run to my clan again and make me start purifying again. I'm going crazy." Ning Shu was silent. It sounded like the Grand Uncle's way of doing things. Ning Shu said, "Then continue to purify." Other than purifying honestly, what else could he do? Moreover, Ning Shu felt that the senior uncle wouldn't be able to get rid of Li Guo and the others for a while. Li Guo looked at Ning Shu from the corner of her eyes. "Aren't you tired? You can try." Ning Shu, "I don't know how to purify." Li Guo didn't want to talk to Ning Shu anymore. She turned her eyes and saw Fa Tian. Her eyes lit up. "What's your relationship with this child?" Ning Shu saw Li Guo's eyes turn green and was shocked. Damn, you're too crazy. You won't even let the child go? Fation was still a child. Ligua, what's wrong with the child? The child was also very strong. Strength had nothing to do with appearance. Ning Shu was even more shocked. What's wrong with the child? The child. Ning Shu pushed Fation behind her. Don't have any ideas about my child. He's not your child. This child obviously has the smell of a void creature. Ligua directly exposed Ning Shu. Ning Shu, she's a void creature. What's wrong with that? Ligua squatted down and smiled gently at Yun. Little brother, what's your name? Fation was expressionless. I don't know. Ligua was embarrassed for a moment, but she still smiled and said, Do you want to come to my tribe to play? Ning Shu, that you're digging the bottom of the wall too rudely. And it sounded very familiar. Ligua had invited her and said the same thing. She was so straightforward that she didn't even change her words. Fation looked serious. Ligua's face trembled. There are many fun things in my tribe. Don't you want to go? Fation was a little impatient. Ligua still wanted to say something, but Ning Shu said, It's time for you to purify. Good luck. Ning Shu held Fation's hand and left. Why did people think about Fation wherever they went? Go and be jealous. Ligua looked at Fation's back and felt very regretful. She said to the old woman beside her, I really want to snatch that child back. The old woman said, Just think about it. It was a little dangerous to snatch things in the Taishu's territory. Unless it was in the void, then so be it. Ligua said angrily, This woman really doesn't know what's good for her. The old woman didn't say anything. She just listened to the tribe leader's complaints. If the tribe leader really did something extreme and affected the tribe, she would definitely remind her. Fation grabbed Ning Shu's finger and looked up at Ning Shu. I won't go with others. Ning Shu nodded. I know. Fation said seriously, I'm serious. Ning Shu nodded and said seriously, Of course I believe you. Fation was a little happier. Ning Shu gently pinched his face and said, Don't be unhappy. People think about you because you're powerful. You should be happy. Fation touched his face. Don't touch my face. As a void creature, my face is inviolable. Ning Shu smiled. Who said that? Fation, little mouse. Ning Shu, he doesn't even have a face. Fation, anyway, don't touch my face. Ning Shu nodded and said, I won't touch our Fation's delicate face in the future. In the future, Fation will rely on his face to make others die. One big and one small, walking in the vast and boundless void, getting further and further away from the black sea of law. Back in the system space, Little Mouse was bored to death. When he saw Ning Shu and Fation, he asked, Where did you guys go? Why are you only back now? He left them in the system space and then these two went out to have fun. Little Mouse was like a lonely woman who was alone in her boudoir, feeling wronged and lonely. Ning Shu, Fation and I are going to the void. Little Mouse, oh. Silence. More silence. Ning Shu, you can come with us. Little Mouse, why did you take so long to ask me to come with you? Little Mouse jumped onto Fation's head and lay on his head. Ning Shu was going to the void. This time, he planned to go further. Chapter 3677. Ning Shu nodded. Let's walk a bit more. Little Mouse shook its head. We can't walk any further. We've already walked a long way. Ning Shu asked, Is it really that far? Why do I feel like we haven't walked that far? Little Mouse glanced at her. You just haven't found what you want and you're not satisfied. We really can't go any further. Ning Shu asked, Is there any danger ahead? Little Mouse sighed like an old man. You know nothing about power. Don't tell me you think that's all there is to the void? Little Mouse pointed at the deep darkness ahead and said, The void creatures ahead are very dense and very powerful. Ning Shu asked, Why are there so many races in that place? Little Mouse thought for a while. If I have to make an analogy, that place is a city and we're in the countryside. Ning Shu said, Damn, you're making us sound so lowly. Don't go. It's too dangerous. They can kill me with a slap. I'm like a mosquito. You can't imagine my power. Little Mouse shook its head. Ning Shu frowned. You're saying that the creatures there are very dense and more powerful? Is there a market? Will there be something I need? Little Mouse was speechless. You're focusing on the wrong thing. Ning Shu wanted to enter the city. Country people were very eager to enter the city. What a beautiful world it was. Little Mouse was a little irritated. I'm not going. Even when he had subordinates, he would deliberately avoid such places. And we can't enter, Little Mouse said. Ning Shu nodded. It seemed that the void creatures also had places where they gathered. He really wanted to go. Ning Shu asked, Is there any way to go? Little Mouse said firmly, There's no way. Ning Shu asked, Why are you so sure? Little Mouse was even more annoyed. Why are you asking so many questions? Ning Shu was stunned for a moment. He suddenly understood that the little mouse belonged to the category of pests, especially now that it was in the form of a mouse. Everyone wants to beat a rat crossing the street. The little mouse devoured energy bodies and gnawed on some life planes. Even if the living beings in the void didn't care about those life planes, to them, they were nothing more than a leaf or even a grain of sand. They didn't care at all. However, things like energy bodies were very important. If the little mouse secretly ate energy bodies for no reason, he would definitely kill it if he could. After the energy body was born, it was bitten by the little mouse in an unknown corner. Don't you think it's hateful? Ning Shu asked again, Isn't there anything good that can increase my potential a little? Her current strength could be increased. Against another mission enforcer, she definitely had an absolute chance of winning. She had the holy whip, the will of death to take damage for her, and the filthy things of the 7 emotions and 6 desires. A drop of it could pollute the soul. She had reached the peak of the soul mission enforcer and couldn't break through anymore. However, Ning Shu felt that it was inevitable that she would have to deal with the creatures of the void in the future. This feeling was like she was a martial arts master and the creatures of the void were gods. There was no comparison at all. Even if a strong soul would increase her strength, it was still the same in the end. She needed to break through the shackles and have a qualitative change. The little mouse said, No, do you really think that there's something in the world that can increase one's strength, by Yubio? Ning Shu said, This is the void, not the world. Besides, I don't want to become a god all of a sudden. She wanted to find a path for her strength. Right now, Ning Shu was suffering from having no path to take. Without a path to take, she could only stay where she was. The little mouse thought carefully. Maybe it's because I'm short-sighted. There's no such thing in my mind at all. You can ask the others. Go back. Hitian said, What are you looking for? I'll help you find it. Ning Shu said, But I don't know what to look for. Without even a goal, Ning Shu was also very confused. Ning Shu felt that she had to find Li Wen for this kind of thing. Li Wen's situation was the same as hers. She needed to break through the shackles of the weak human body. Sometimes, it wasn't fair between people. The creatures in the void were naturally strong, and they weren't stupid. Was Tai Shu Sang Liang stupid? Facing them, other people were the stupid ones. They needed to break through, but it seemed very difficult. Ning Shu rubbed her hands. Let's go closer and take a look. The little mouse shook its head. No, you think I'm stupid? If you don't go, I'll go by myself. Ning Shu saw that the little mouse was very afraid, so she didn't insist on going. This trip had some gains. They obtained countless snacks and some strangely shaped corpses. If they really wanted to find something powerful, they would definitely have to go to a dangerous place. It was impossible to find Lingji on the side of the road. The little mouse must have taken them to a safer place. The country girl wanted to enter the city and yearned for a bustling big city. Ning Shu said, Let's change direction and walk around. They would strive to familiarize this area and clear the way for them to enter the city in the future. The little mouse looked at Ning Shu. Aren't you tired? Ning Shu said, No, I have a dream. Ning Shu and the little mouse began to carefully explore the surrounding situation. Ning Shu even took out the map that Brother Li Wen had given him. However, This map depicted the places that he had followed the little mouse to and the surrounding situation. There was no more macroscopic map. Ning Shu felt that he should be likely when and make a map. That way, he would have a plan. Especially where there were races, he could avoid conflicts. Ning Shu focused all his energy on making the map. Fitian followed Ning Shu obediently and asked, "Where was I born?" Ning Shu was speechless. "Damn, I really don't know." The process of getting Fatian was a bit complicated. This made Ning Shu a little nervous. She did not get Fatian from Fatian's birthplace. Fatian said, "I was born in the void. Little mouse told me." "Where was I born?" Ning Shu glared at the little mouse. What was she talking about with Fatian for? How did she know where Fatian was born? Did she have to go to the Great Gate Planet? The Great Gate Planet would probably spit on her face and ask her to scram. Even if she knew, she would not be willing to tell her. Ning Shu said, "It doesn't matter where you were born. What matters is who accompanied you." The little mouse did not understand why this woman was so fierce to it. Ning Shu nodded. "Yes, maybe the place you were born in is bare and empty." Fian said, "Oh, I see. Don't I have siblings?" Little mouse said, "It's already rare to have one. You still want siblings? You are unique." Fatian accepted the fact that he was unique. "I am unique." He did not really care about where he was born. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3678. Ning Shu kept perfecting his map and marked out the dangerous places. Little Mouse saw that Ning Shu was so motivated and felt a little creeped out. This guy still didn't want to give up and wanted to go to that big place. With her small arms and legs, she was really like an ant beside those people's feet. Little Mouse didn't want to go because the creatures there were too arrogant. It was an exaggeration to say that she could kill it with one slap. It wouldn't die that easily, but it didn't seem to scare this woman. So annoying. Little Mouse said, "I advise you to give up. You can be a tyrant in other places, but that doesn't mean you can still be a tyrant in that place." Ning Shu glanced at it. "When did I become a tyrant?" "You didn't? You didn't? You were a tyrant every day. Whenever you were unhappy, you would pull a long face. It was pitiful to live under someone else's roof and live under someone else's nose. It was really pitiful." Ning Shu ignored Little Mouse's resentful expression. "Didn't you eat a lot of energy and can split some subordinates?" Little Mouse wanted to split, but after hearing Ning Shu's words, it didn't want to split anymore. This woman enslaved it and even wanted to take its subordinates. Little Mouse clutched its chest and looked very weak. "My body is still weak." Ning Shu nodded. "I was thinking that when you have subordinates, I will bring your subordinates to the void. I don't need to trouble you all the time." Little Mouse, Hitian asked, "What split?" Little Mouse immediately said, "Nothing." Ning Shu insisted, "It wants to give birth." Fatian looked at Little Mouse's stomach with some suspicion. He was born and raised by heaven and earth. He heard that many creatures relied on flesh to reproduce. Little Mouse was very desperate. It covered its face and felt that its glorious image was shattered. "It's not giving birth. It's splitting." Ning Shu, "Oh, it's called fission reproduction." Little Mouse said angrily, "Shut up." Knowing that Little Mouse was about to give birth, Fatian was very interested in the Little Mouse's belly. He tossed and turned to look at the Little Mouse, gently stroking its belly with his fingers. "Is your child among them?" Little Mouse shrieked, "No, no child." Fatian said, "Don't be angry. Don't affect the baby." Ning Shu's eyes were red and she was in a trance. Fatian was a fast learner. He even knew about fetal chi. Little Mouse didn't want to talk anymore. He had nothing left to live for. He stared blankly and was too lazy to explain. Ning Shu was still expanding his base map and couldn't help but move towards the city. Little Mouse couldn't even pretend to be dead now. "Stop your wild ambition. You can't get in." Ning Shu, "I have a dream." Little Mouse, "If you can't get in, it's useless to say anything more." Ning Shu, I have a dream. Little Mouse, nonsense. Ning Shu, nonsense? Who are you talking about? Little Mouse, nonsense. I'm talking about you. Ning Shu nodded. I have a dream. Little Mouse had a big headache. Its nose twitched and it quickly covered its nose. It was a familiar smell and a familiar formula. Little Mouse jumped on Ning Shu's head and grabbed Ning Shu's hair to cover its body. It didn't want to jump on Fa Tion's head, but Fa Tion's hair was too short. Fa Tion looked at Little Mouse worriedly. Did you affect the baby? Ning Shu narrowed his eyes when he saw Little Mouse like this. Suddenly, his eyes widened, and his eyes lit up. Sure enough, after a while, he saw Senior Uncle in Black with Sang Liang beside him. Their direction was. Ning Shu immediately waved to Senior Uncle and Sang Liang. Senior Uncle Tainyo, are you going to enter the city? Give me a ride. Ever since the Little Mouse's inexplicable metaphor, Ning Shu's mind was full of this magical setting. If Senior Uncle and Sang Liang could enter the city, they could hitch a ride. Take me to the market. I want to enter the city. Little Mouse took a deep breath. What the hell? What are you going to do? So smelly, Texasy. Senior Uncle glanced at Ning Shu with a cold face, snorted, and walked straight past Ning Shu. The silver-haired man also walked over. Ning Shu didn't care if the two agreed or not and followed behind. The silver-haired man turned back. What are you going to do? I'm going to the place you want to go. Let's go together. We can take care of each other on the way, Ning Shu said. The silver-haired man said, Oh, really? If you're going to turn into ashes, why are you still going? Ning Shu swallowed her saliva. I just wanted to go to the market and look for something. But it looks dangerous. Ning Shu said, Then I won't go. Can you help me get something? The silver-haired man said, No, I'm not a peddler. Then he left. Ning Shu sighed. It really wasn't easy to enter a big city. It was normal not to bring her. Not long ago, he beat Senior Uncle. It seemed that Senior Uncle had recovered again. He was indeed strong and healthy. Ning Shu didn't expect to follow them. If he could, he would make a killing. If not, he wouldn't lose anything. It was better to continue perfecting the map. Ning Shu took out a handful of snacks and stuffed them into Fa Tion's mouth with her sweet mouth. Fa Tion gave some to Little Mouse. Eat more to nourish yourself. Nourish your ass. I already said that it didn't have children. Little Mouse took a long time to recover. Oh my God, it stinks. It stinks even more than before. The wind smells like this. Ning Shu froze for a moment and asked Tion, Do you smell it? Tion moved his nose. There's a faint smell. It's not obvious. It seemed that Little Mouse's keen sense of smell was a racial advantage. Ning Shu was a bit disappointed. I can't go with you. Tion stuffed something into his mouth and said vaguely, He won't take us. He was lying down before, and I absorbed his energy. Only Fa Tion was on Ning Shu's side. If it was someone else, he would have directly spat on Ning Shu's face. How shameless! You just slapped him, and now you want to give him a ride? Did you lose your memory? Ning Shu wasn't disappointed. Even if there was no previous incident, it wouldn't be easy to follow them. He still had to rely on himself. There was a celestial realm in front of him, but he couldn't enter it. Ning Shu said, I have a dream. Little Mouse, are you crazy? You can't forget it. Wishful thinking. You can't forget it. There's no response. Little Mouse said, Let's go back. We've been wandering for so long. Ning Shu said, Let's wait a little longer. Little Mouse said bluntly, Are you waiting for them to come back? God knows when they will come back. I'm tired. I want to rest. Ning Shu, lazy donkeys have a lot of shit and urine. I want to continue making maps. There's nothing to do when we go back anyway. Little Mouse said, Don't you do missions? Don't you know how many missions you've put aside? Your system is so bitter. It doesn't dare to rush you. Little Mouse had been with Ning Shu for a long time and understood what Ning Shu was doing. Little Mouse despised him. Why do you care about those planes? To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.